Okay, everyone. Okay, so we'll try that again. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Today is February the 19th. So welcome to our joint City Council Successor Agency Housing Authority and Successor Housing Agency regular meeting again on Wednesday, February 19th. I will call this meeting to order at 6:05. Thank you again, and thank you those that are joining us here in our council chambers, those that are joining us via Zoom, and those that are joining us on Facebook or on our YouTube channel. I'm excited to have you here again for another council meeting, and your involvement and civic participation is critical to the work that we do here. So thank you again. Just a couple of public reminders. The public does have several options to join today's meeting and make public comments. Public comments are really important to us as a council and as a city. You can join the meeting on Zoom, and the agenda for today, the meeting ID for today is 860-2703-2193, which is on the agenda. But in case you don't have an agenda, again, the meeting ID number is 860-2703-2193. If you don't have access to a computer, don't worry. You can also join us via telephone. The number is 1-669-900-6833. Again, this meeting is also being streamed on our YouTube channel, and Facebook Live. But just making sure that any comments that you have, please join our meeting via Zoom, as any comments made there will not be made as part of the public record. And we do have, as always, the Spanish translators available as well. So with that, I will turn it over to our city clerk for a roll call, please.
Mayor Ana Velasquez.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Fernando Cabrera.
Here.
Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez.
Here.
Councilmember Avarista Banuelos.
Here.
Councilmember Ben Children.
Here.
Okay, perfect. So we'll move on to our next item on our agenda, which is public comments on closed session items. So for today, we do have two closed session items. The public does have a limit of 3 minutes to speak on the closed session items. If you can please be brief and to the point, and please come up to the podium if you do have comments. Closed session items for today. The city council will recess to closed session pursuant to government code section 54956.8 to give instructions to the city's negotiator concerning the sale, exchange, lease of property located at assessor parcel numbers 022-533-014-000. And the city council will recess to closed session, to closed session pursuant to government code section 54956.9A to confer with its attorney regarding the pending litigation which has been initiated formally and to which the city is a party, claim of Zavala. So at this time, do we have any members of the public that are joining us here in our chambers that like to make any comments on our closed session items? Okay, seeing none, let me take it to those that may be joining us via Zoom if there's any members of the public on closed session items. No. Okay, seeing none, then I will close the closed session item. And at this time, then the council will recess and we will be back at 6:30 for the public portion of our meeting. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for our public that's here. So we are returning from closed session, and I will turn this over to our city attorney to give us a report out on our closed session items.
Yes, on item number 1, which was a meeting with the city's real property negotiator for the identified parcel of property, the council discussed and gave direction regarding the property in question, and no other reportable action was taken. And then item number 2, which was the claim of Zavala, the council voted to reject the claim, provided direction to the city attorney, and no other reportable action was taken.
Thank you. So at this time, if you can please stand and help me on the Pledge of Allegiance, and I will ask Desi if you can please lead us in the.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, so at this time, do we have any additions or modifications to the agenda? No, we do not. Okay. So we'll move on then. There's no additions or modifications. We'll move on to our public comments. So at this time, we have public comments. The public may address the council on items that are not appearing on the agenda. So these are for items that are not in the agenda, that are within the interest of and jurisdiction of the council. You do have 3 minutes. Please be brief and to the point. If you have a public comment, if we can have you come up to the podium so we can hear you. And if you're on Zoom, if you can please raise your hand so we can recognize you. So just as a reminder to our public, please refrain just again, refrain from, we want to maintain both the public and the council. We want to make sure that we maintain the quorum during the public comment period. So we ask the public refrain from making any personal attacks or derogatory comments during their comments to their public comments. So at this time, I will ask if there's any members of the public that are joining us here in our council chambers, if they'd wish to make a public comment.
Good evening. My name is Desiree Barba, and I am one of the 5 board members for the Soledad Cemetery District. I came to just give a quick little update on where the cemetery is at on just a few items that I could squeeze in for 3 minutes. One of the big things, especially for the community that is out there, one of our biggest things is the newly posted rules that we have at the cemetery. The board went over which rules were in our policy that we felt needed to be addressed and brought forward to light, so that way we hopefully can have them not be broken anymore. The biggest one that I would like to mention is the no glass, no porcelain, food or drink allowed on the grounds. This does the food and drink unfortunately brings out the critters, which are the gophers and all the squirrels that are creating all these lovely tunnels and holes. The paint, the glass and the ceramic is for the safety of our workers who are using weed whackers to clean around the headstones. When the weed whacker hits the glass or porcelain, it does this little explosion, which is quite unsafe. We have been posting these. I put them on the community pages, and we have had quite a few people, community members who aren't exactly thrilled about these, but as I've explained multiple times, these are not new rules. These are just the rules that we noticed needed to be brought to light, so hopefully we can avoid any further incidents. The cemetery will be closed tomorrow. It is closed all day. And again, I posted it on our community pages. I posted it Sunday evening, and I just wanted to also bring it here so that way other people who haven't seen my post are aware. I wanted to address the mess that the current board and the staff have inherited. As unfortunate as it is that the cemetery is known for the double selling of plots and the many mistakes that have happened throughout the years. And sadly, staff were not held accountable for their mistakes. We are taking the time to refile receipts and paperwork and verifying people who own these graves, probing all of these graves to make sure there are no bodies in them. And unfortunately, there are many mistakes that are affecting a lot of our community members. We just ask that the community be patient, and if they have any questions or concerns in regards to their plots, they're welcome to join us at our next board meeting, which is March 13th. We encourage them to come with their questions or concerns. We want to hear from everybody. And that's pretty much all I came to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other comments at this time from the public that's joining us here? Okay, seeing none, then let me take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom, and then if we can just start the timer, please, when they start. Do we have any public comments from those that are joining us via Zoom? Okay, and I don't see any. Okay, so seeing no hands raised, and I will close the public comment period for this item. And then we will move on to our next item of business, which is our consent calendar. So before I move on, written public comments, do we have any written public comments? Okay, so we have no written public comments, and I apologize, I forgot. So we do have a request for a moment of silence. So before we start our order of business, I will want to take a moment to pause for a moment of silence. I will turn it over to Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez to lead us on that moment of silence.
Yes, so this moment of silence will be for two individuals. Recently, a transgender man was brutally assaulted and murdered in upstate New York by 5 individuals that have been caught. And the second person this moment of silence will be for, or the transgender man's name was Sam Norquist. And the second person is for Jocelyn Rojo Carranza, who was a minor in the state of Texas that died by suicide because of being bullied for having parents that were undocumented. So please join me in this moment of silence for Sam Norquist and Jocelyn Rojo Carranza.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilmember Ansaldo, for bringing that forth. I know we typically want to make sure that we acknowledge those moments of silence, and also any of the journey memories also that the council may have. Please let me know in advance. So we want to make sure that we add those to, that I add those to my points. So that way I can make sure we recognize those individuals and we recognize you in those moments. So thank you. Okay, so we'll move on. Thank you. After tragedies, we'll move on to our consent calendar. And we just to confirm, we didn't have any written public comments, okay? No written public comments. So our consent calendar for today is, we only have 3 items on our consent calendar. Let me ask the public first if there's any member of the public that wishes to pull an item from the consent calendar for further discussion or comment from those that are joining us here in our chambers. Okay, seeing none, then let me see if there's anyone out there via Zoom that would like to pull an item from the consent calendar for additional discussion or comments. Okay, seeing none, then I'll bring it to the council to see if their council wishes to pull any items from the consent calendar for additional comments or questions. Okay, seeing none, then I'll entertain a motion for approval of consent calendar items C1 to C3. Oh, do I have a,
I was gonna pull,
did I go too fast?
yes, item 3, resolution 6196.
Okay, so resolution 3, okay,
I
so,
move resolution 6196.
okay, so resolution number 6196 from the consent calendar. Council, before I move on, I just want to make sure I acknowledge everybody. Any additional? Okay, so I will entertain a motion to approve item C1 to C2.
So moved.
Okay, so I have, first from Councilwoman, Manuelos and a second from Council Member Ansaldo Sanchez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so motion carries, and I will turn it over, for our, sorry, we'll turn it over for our presentation on 6196.
You guys see that okay? No one's eating?
Yes,
Yes.
and I think we have this too.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So good evening, Anita Velasquez, council members, Alex Ramos, with the Public Works, Department Assistant Engineer here. So the item before you, C3, is an item to essentially, adopt the final version of the Safe Routes to School plan. And just to bring our new council up to speed, I have the presentation that was given at the last prior council meeting. And I'll just quickly go over the slides here. So like I mentioned, this is the Salinas Valley Safe Routes to School plan. And essentially this project consisted of 22 schools in the South Monterey County. That included Gonzales, Saudade, Greenfield, and King City. It was a partnership between TAMSI, the Monterey County Health Department, Ecology Action, the respective cities, and school districts. It was a project funded by the Caltrans Planning Grant and Measure X, which they took care of. We only inputted staff time and resources in our time and provided feedback. Essentially took over about 2 to 3 years to finally get to this point in time. And each city had its respective steering committee for input feedback that was comprised of actual Soledad residents. Next slide here. The 4 primary goals of this plan was to improve safety for people walking and biking, by promoting a safer corridor and essentially coming up with a list of these things. The goal is to reduce traffic congestion as a result. This also helps promote healthier kids and lifestyles for the kids. If you're able to walk and bike, you're not, just sitting around all day. It's also to help support future grant applications and essentially provide leverage to the city to seek future funding, whether that's state, federal, or other forms of grant funding. It's always been a community-based process with the initial beginnings of parent outreach back in fall 2022. And then went over to walking audits and parent surveys. And that consisted of us, staff, the collaboration amongst all groups, to go to the actual school sites, observe the kids, see how they're getting to and from school, and essentially talking to the parents and identifying key issues they see from their day-to-day, right? That went ahead and resulted in a list of recommendations, and it was a whole, like 6 pages worth of lists that the steering committee then went ahead and filtered. They went ahead and sought further input from the community. Out of this list, what would the city and its residents like to be going forward? As a result of that, a pilot project actually was selected for the railroad underpass along Front Street, which essentially we installed armadillos and water troughs to create a buffered bike lane. And it was great. We got some really nice feedback from the community about, having this really good sense of safety traveling through this corridor. Oftentimes we see people coming to and from that section, getting to work, rush hour, things like that. And it just creates that extra buffer that really helps folks just travel through there. And that all resulted towards the final plan, which is the item before you tonight. This plan had a whole lot of outreach. There was 12 presentations at 3 meetings, 208 responses to parent surveys, 1,824 responses to student surveys, 119 responses to Front Street pilot project survey, which was all very positive, and the 246 community votes during participatory budgeting process. And I really just want to showcase this picture. When folks weren't coming to us, we went to them. We're really getting proactive about this.
Nice.
Just an overview of the plan. It's supposed to give us high-level goals and objectives to strive for, a list of prioritized corridors based on feedback from the parents, Soledad residents. It not only addresses things at the school sites, but also just citywide corridor recommendations, and essentially gives us infrastructure and program recommendations for each school. And my last slide here, this plan is supposed to help city prioritize projects and seek funding for the future. Some of the projects can be implemented during regular road maintenance, like crosswalks, restriping, just that simple stuff. And of course, it also introduces a new form of project implementation known as quick builds. Here we have a lot of bulb outs. The nearest example is actually the one here at the Main Street Middle School. Instead of doing a whole lot of concrete, because it does get expensive, you can do alternative methods of performing bulb outs. The picture there shows you essentially, what you can do with paint and some candlesticks or those little tall cones, but yeah, that's essentially what the safe route to school plan is supposed to accomplish. And the item before you is the formalized final draft of the actual safe route for council consideration and adoption.
Thank you, Alex, for that presentation, and thank you for providing us with a big copy of that. Appreciate it, but thank you for all the information and the reports that were really detailed in terms of all of the process that was fairly lengthy to get to where we're at tonight. Councilmember Caldera, you pulled this item, so I'll turn it over to you if there's any comments or questions you have.
Actually, you know what, I was actually, I had a question on not just the crosswalks, but the speed also, did we add to this survey, like the possibility of doing the speed bumps, that kind of thing?
So as part of this plan, we didn't necessarily look at speed itself. If we identified areas where speeding is a concern, it's more of a, code enforcement, police enforcement type of thing. Speed bumps aren't necessarily the first thing we look at. We try to see if we can get police involvement, and it's a partnership, because half of the time it's parents trying to get to and from, work and school, and we just all gotta kind of slow down type of thing. But we do look into road diets. They're called chokers, where you just kind of reduce the lane width. Other forms of speed control would probably be the best way. And those improvements were looked at as part of this plan, but not necessarily focused on speed bumps. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did, thank you.
Yeah,
That's actually all I got.
I actually
Thank you.
have, if you don't mind.
okay, so Councilmember Gonzalo Sanchez.
Thank you. So for the safe routes to school plan, it's not, I guess, 2 comments. It's not necessarily that we're gonna do something, right? Like, it's more of like a plan, so it's not like we're breaking ground on anything, right?
It gives us essentially a template to look at things and essentially value them at an engineering level, because just because it's in the plan doesn't necessarily always mean it'll work or it's feasible, right? Sometimes cost is just, astronomically high, or things may, what we like to say, cause unintentional consequences. All those things need to be vetted, but in theory, this provides us where to start, and then we take it from there.
And then this is just for the city. It's like a collaboration, but it's only a plan for the city. It's not for the school district, right?
There's a big, large document, but each section is respective to a city, if that makes sense.
If I may, through the chair, I think there are some language in the plan that talks about programmatic improvements that are broader than just the city. That would be a collaboration with the school district.
Got it, because my idea is that we have, I don't know, like a lot of schools, I was gonna count them, but I can't count them. And they all start at the same time. So
Yes.
for me, for traffic congestion and for safety, I feel like we should be staggering start times, which I know is a conversation with the school district for you, but that was something that came up in listening, is like, well, I think that would address it, as I know folks that work, especially out of Soledad.
Right.
There's only so many streets and they all have a school, so anyways, that was it, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, and I don't know, the council, if there's any comments, I want to make a few, since it's already for discussion. But let me turn it to my colleagues if there's any, no.
Oh,
comments.
yes, actually, just thank you for the presentation and for all the work that was done for this. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'll pass on the comments.
Yeah, thank you, Alex. I think for me, I want to echo the same sentiment because I know, I mean, the detailed plan is pretty elaborate for every school district. The 190-page document has, you know, the council has a really specific plan for each of those school districts, right? Because people went out there, they observed, they looked at what was happening. And obvious, some of that is not for us, but obviously that's some of the partnerships with the school district. So I was hoping also that the school, I don't know whether the school adopts this plan or what is the school doing, or is it just our city responsibility to adopt the plan? And then we work with the school district, because there is a lot that we are not gonna be able to do, especially in front of the school district corridors that really belong to the school district. For example, Sandby, you know, they identified the parking lot, that's an issue, right? Because
Right.
parents are coming in and out. That's not within our jurisdiction. So obviously that has to be done through the school district. So, you know, we did have conversations about the staggering of time, and that's not, we don't have control over that. That's a school district. And apparently they did already have some kind of conversation in the past about that, and parents are not very supportive of that. But one of the things that I just want to say, because I know we've been talking about it, because our residents have shared with all of us, I think, the traffic incidents that have happened recently, and everybody's concerned about it. But this helps us as a plan. I just want to make sure our residents know that there was a lot, like a 2-year process undertaking
Right.
for this plan to be developed. And it gives us a framework. It's not an overall, but it gives us, as Megan said, some of the things that we can incorporate as we're looking at our next year's budget, you know, for our CIPs. What are some of the easy things on the roadside that we can do as a city? But then what are the things that are more complex that we need to work with the district? And then what are those projects that are way more complex, that require more budgeting, that we really need to work with TAMSI, right?
Right.
And other organizations to be able to put, to get grants, to be able to do that. But I think one of the things, and I just want to share this with the community, because I found this to be really important data in the document, was, you know, we already have the collision data for pedestrians, and Monterey Street was a location where most of those collisions happened at 60%. And then the next was Front Street, right, with the second highest, which we've known already because we've heard those issues, and obviously Gavilan and Front Street, but we are doing the road diet on Gavilan. So some of that is already taking place. So West Street, on West, sorry. On West, so we are doing some work already, and then we did Front Street. We talked last time with council about the stop signs in Front Street, right? So there's some implementation already that we started based on some of the findings already on some of those. And then the other one that I found was really staggering as a parent was the most common violations are really the drivers' failure to yield to pedestrians and marked and unmarked crosswalks.
Yes.
And so, and the next is the driver's speed and pedestrians, the speed, and then the pedestrians, right? Failing to stop for vehicles, right? So I think there's a lot of opportunities for us to do education and awareness. Because we don't obviously have a lot of the money, but I think this gives us a framework and a lot of data to be able to share with the community of how important it is that we do stop, that we do become aware, that we, you know, are safe drivers, because unfortunately our pedestrians and our people that walk and ride bikes are the ones that are the highest with the collisions and injuries.
I think for the chair, I think we can consider just kind of like moving forward, like considering doing like a reenactment. Like, you know, like Students Against Drug Drivers, you know how the high school does like a little enactment of, we can do that with parents or pedestrians and kind of, you know, education. Because I mean, as a parent, we're always in a rush and we have to like just slow down. I mean, it's just kind of, that's just for the future,
So,
you know.
yeah, and we'll have like, so there's opportunities for further discussion, for us to be able to consider as we continue to work with the school district and as we look at this plan. So this plan really helps us to be able to have those conversations, and also to encourage our residents, right, not to commute. I mean, we have a high commute rate, over 70% of our residents commute to work. And most of them are commuting and driving alone.
Mhm.
So we're not using other modes of transportation either. So we have a lot of great data in this report. So I just want to say thank you for all of the data that was provided to us as a council. I think it's a tool for us to be able to move forward with, you know, as we look at our budget, what are some of those projects that we want to look to see what we can do? And then working with the school district and then working
Right.
to raise awareness.
And just to kind of answer that quick question at the beginning, the school district is aware, they've received these recommendations and lists on their end. I just don't know if they're gonna go through the formal process of adopting it by their board necessarily, but we can find out.
Okay, okay, good to know. Okay, then I just have a correction on page 4 of the plan. You need to remove reference to the former mayor pro tem. Because it's still on the plan.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the Tansy plan. Okay, council, if no other comments or questions, I will entertain a motion to approve the plan. Or to approve,
I motion to approve resolution number 6196.
Second.
okay, so I have a first from Councilmember Gonzalo Sanchez and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Cabrera. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you so much for all the great work on this.
Thank you, Alex.
Sorry. Okay, so we will move on to our next item, then of business. And so we have our first item of business is Soledad Mission Recreation District appointments to fill the vacancy. And I will turn this over to Megan to provide us with a staff report and then to do the process of the appointments.
Thank you, Mayor. Really quick, we have, the city has 3 appointments that we're able to make to the Soledad Mission Recreation District. I think last year, we did, the mayor appointed and the city council approved the appointment of Ryan Hunzy. Francis reached out to the city at the end of December about Pete Messa's resignation, and then there was another person whose name right now is escaping me, who sat on the board that was a city appointment, who had also ceased to be able to continue to attend. So we did put the opportunity up on our website. We did a lot of advertising about the vacancies. I know Francis also did quite a bit of work, and we're pleased that we did receive 2 applications from Ken Clemme. I hope I'm saying your Clemme, and Desiree Barba, both of whom are very qualified. They both serve on various boards and both actually serve on special districts. Ken serves on the mosquito abatement district, and Desiree, as you mentioned, is on the cemetery district. The one thing I will note is that in the bylaws, it's not very specific about how the city would appoint. In the mission rec bylaws, I should specify, it's not very specific about the appointment process for the city. And so the city is using the appointment process that we usually apply for commissions and committees, which, as you may remember, the mayor appoints and the council approves. That's the language in our rules. And so that if anyone has any questions, that's basically where we're at. We're hoping to move forward as quickly as possible because, you know, with the 2 vacancies, it's hard to achieve quorum. And I know that Francis is anxious to have a meeting. So we hope that you can take action tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Megan. So with that, thank you, because Megan kind of covered a lot of the points that I was going to cover. So thank you for that. Council, you have the 2 applications before you. Obviously, you read the applications and both of the applicants before us, are qualified to be in these positions. So, the vacancies, just to reiterate, there are 4-year terms, 4-year term each vacancy. And as Megan had talked, extensive outreach was conducted both by the district and the city as well. And so given that we only have the 2 vacancies and we only have 2 applicants before us, the process that we're gonna undertake is gonna be really simple. I know if we had more applicants, we'd ask the council to formulate some questions and we can ask them questions, but since we don't, we don't really have a lot of that, we only have 2 applications and 2 vacancies. And I think for me, upon review of the both applications, my recommendation is, it's gonna be pretty solid, but before I do my recommendations on both, I do want to give an opportunity for both to speak. So you will have 3 minutes if you want to come up to the podium. We do have we do have the applications, a copy of applications, but if there's anything that you want to highlight for us, or anything that you want to share about some, what you bring to the table, I think that would be a great opportunity for us, for our residents to also get to know you. So, whoever wants to go first, I'll ask Ken. Again, so I'll ask Ken to come and you'll have 3 minutes. We'll set the timer once you get to the podium.
Hello, council here. Thank you for having me tonight. Good evening. My name is Ken Clemmy, and Megan, nobody really knows how to pronounce it, so anyway, it's fine. I just say Clemmy. So anyway, a little bit about me. I've served in the public space for almost 25 years in special districts. I've managed the mosquito district for about 12 years now, maybe 13. And so anyway, I've sat on different boards. I've been the president of the California Mosquito Association. I sit on our insurance JPA. I'm the secretary for our special districts chapter. So, and then my admin assistant is also a part of that as well. So I think I can serve the district well with the experience that I have with special districts. I also have a special district, I forget what they call it. They've changed the name several times, but it's like a district administrator certificate. It's pretty extensive. So I think I could help out with the district in that aspect. And I'm looking at the financials. There's some challenges there, and I just want to represent you guys well, and I'm here for you. And so I thank you for your consideration. If you guys have any questions.
Thank you. So you still have, so you don't have to take up, you still have a minute, but you don't have to take it, you don't have to take your minute. But I think we're not gonna open it up for questions, Ken, so anything anything else that you want to share with the council?
That's about it. Just always served in government. So since college, I have a degree in biology, so I just, for fun, I do CrossFit, so I think like swimming and stuff like that for kids is important. I think that's a good, if we can open that up and have more people and try to get that funding in there so that it's just an important skill for people to have, and I stand by that and hope I can do the best I can. So with that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And thank you for coming today as well. Okay, so CrossFit for fun, huh?
Yeah, that's the only fun I have.
Okay, so now we'll start the timer and we'll ask Debbie to come up to the front and to share with her also. You have 3 minutes. You can share any highlights that you want to highlight for us.
It's me again. Again, Desiree Barba. I am a longtime resident of Soledad. Basically, okay. I'm loud, I know. But so longtime resident. I actually used to work at the Soledad pool. I did 3 summers, I believe, there. Loved it. I love teaching swim lessons. I was also the swim team coach. And I would have stayed had there been benefits at the time, because that's how much I actually enjoyed it. But I've been a county employee for over 17 years, been in the administration aspect of it. And as you know, I recently joined the Solid Cemetery Board. Went in like a bulldozer. I'm very much hands-on. I love to learn. I love to understand, ask a million questions, and I have no problem being a team player, taking the lead, whatever is needed, I'm there and for it. So being able to have this opportunity to work with Francis again is something I would love, and hopefully get my daughter into the pool. And I recently have put her into the rec softball, so I'm really excited about that. I really love what they're doing. They've expanded so much since I've worked there, so that alone is very exciting for me. So I wanna be a part of that. So I really thank you all for your consideration on this, and I hope I could do well serving on this board as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And thank you for coming as well.
Of course.
There's on both fronts to be able to provide updates and to be here to speak. So council, I think for me, I'll just make a couple of remarks and then I will request the support with the recommendations. So, you know, I just want to say, as obviously, as you heard and as you have in your application packet, I think speaking in regards to Ken, I think he would be a great addition to the board. You know, obviously there's a letter of referral from the district as well, but not just that, obviously, you know, he comes with a lot of knowledge and experience in special districts, and sitting on a special district on the last go as a commissioner, I've come to understand that there's a lot of details and a lot of different policies and regulations that a special district needs to adhere to. And so I think he brings a strong financial background also, which is needed with support as well. To make sure that the pool and the district continue to be viable for our community for many years to come, right? I mean, it was, you know, the district was created in 1962 and it's served for a long time for the community, and we really want it to continue to serve our residents as we grow. So I think he'll bring that knowledge, expertise, and also, you know, he knows a lot of special districts, and I know we don't take advantage as much as small cities, but Ken has a lot of resources, and having been in a special district and operating a special district, he knows that the California Special Districts Association has a lot of opportunities, you know, references, you know, a lot of different materials that we can take advantage of, right? And I think having someone on the board that knows how to access that, knows who to call, knows where to get the materials, will bring a different level also of support to the district. So I think Ken will do a great job, and it'll be my honor to be able to recommend him on the board. And regards to Desiree Barba, obviously, as you heard, she came in as part of the special district for the cemetery, has been a really strong advocate for the cemetery, really strong accounting background, worked for the county, so understands governance structures as well. So I think that's a plus. And also has been, you know, on the cemetery board, and both boards obviously are under the MSR. The minister have had a municipal service review as part of the LAFCO compliance, and there is requirements under board governance and stability and fiscal outlook that I think both candidates would really benefit. You know, can really support the district in moving those things along. So both are great candidates to serve on the Soledad Mission Recreation Board. They can, you know, really support and build bridges between the community, between the district, and between the city of Soledad, to be able to help us to continue to foster and enhance our partnership. So with that, council, I would request, I make the recommendation to approve my recommendation to approve both Desiree Barba and Ken Clemmy on to serve on the Soledad Mission Recreation District Board for 4 years as part of the city's appointment process.
I approve. Make a motion. Sorry.
Okay, so make
Motion to what?
Yeah, we
You-
don't actually need a motion, so
Oh,
just
okay.
make the
Make the
appointment and then we
recommendation. Oh, okay.
got a consensus of the council that
council,
they
do
agree.
we have a consensus and agreement?
I agree.
Okay.
Yes.
So Okay,
Yes.
so we have a consensus, so congratulations, and I'm sure Francis is looking forward to putting you to work soon.
Sure. She's already plotting over here.
No question.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we will,
Oh, through the chair, I just wanted to mention, I think the council is very interested in having meetings with the representatives, just, getting some regular updates. So offline, we can talk about, we can reach out to you and talk about how that happens. So thank you.
yes, I know we talked about a little bit about that, so yeah, we want to make sure we are a bridge and that we continue to work together, so thank you. Okay, thank you, council. Okay, so thank you, well, congratulations, yeah, looking forward to all the great work you guys are gonna do.
Can we take a picture?
Okay, so we will. Yeah, no, yeah, so we'll move on. Okay, council, thank you so much. Thank you. So we'll move on to our next item of business. We have 6 items today, council, so I want to make sure we have enough time to have dialogue that's necessary for each. Our next item of business is presentation on the Front Street landscape concept, the vignette, and we have a staff report, and we also have some concepts that were provided in our packet. So I'll turn it over to Don Wilcox, our Public Works Director.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Don Wilcox, Public Works Director. As everybody knows, we've been doing the Front Street Maintenance Project, which include one of the major elements was removing and replacing the trees on this side along the fronts, the business fronts. The old ones were pushing up the sidewalk and becoming a major nuisance. So we spent a lot of time and effort in replacing those, but we also spent a lot of time and effort in selecting the replacement trees. The city manager worked with the Wallace Group to really hone in and define the best trees for that area. Those are all planted and they're doing okay. We'll know this spring how well they do, and hopefully that'll work out. But at least the tree selection was well thought out this time. They're not going to do the same thing to the sidewalk that last was good. So after that phase, we decided to add into the project more beautification. So since Wallace helped with the tree selection on Front Street, now we have asked them to create a vibrant and beautiful downtown corridor. Staff requested a landscape refresh concept from Wallace Group that proposed a new planning plan for the entrance, the medians, and the bulb outs. So with us tonight is Matt Wilkins. He's going to walk us through I believe the mayor pronounced it vignette.
Vignette, yeah, is that?
Vignette.
The planning plan for the entrance medians and bulb outs, and answer any questions council might have. So I'll turn it over to Matt.
All right, thank you,
Matt.
Don. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes,
All right, great. Well, good evening, Mayor, fellow council members and staff. My name is Matt Wilkins. I'm the Director of Landscape Architecture at Wallace Group, and we're really excited this evening to talk to you about Front Street and some of the
oh, I think we lost you.
Pause.
You froze. Is it our internet or his?
This is Suzanne Baird. I'm landscape architect with Wallace Group. Until Matt can return, I can take over for a few moments.
Oh, good, thank you.
Of course. So as Matt was saying, our company Wallace Group has actually been involved with the construction administration of the Front Street landscaping project that's going on now. And then we had further discussions with both Don and Megan regarding other areas of Front Street to try and actually help revitalize your downtown area and bring some cohesion to your landscaping between the new things that you've just done and further on down. So what we were tasked to do was look at the landscaping for different areas, the bulb outs, some of the parkway strips, and the medians. And pay a special focus on the medians that are in the center of town, where we want them to be kind of exciting, fun, and inviting people, who are community members and visitors alike to come and spend time in Soledad. So I don't know if you have these slides up, if
Yeah.
we
know, we
could go. Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh,
can you put up the slides?
Yeah, we're gonna pull up the slides and just so you know, that way the community can see it. Council has the slides in our packet as well.
Okay, that would be great. Yeah, if I can see them, then it could help prompt the conversations. The vignettes, as I said, I believe the first slide is there a way for me to see it?
I'm joining you. One quick second.
Okay.
Hello, I'm back as well. Sorry about that.
Oh, good.
Okay,
Matt is here.
good.
Yeah, sorry. That was, of course, the beauty of technology.
Yeah,
think I was
welcome to
just-
rural California.
I know. I was just saying I'd love to be there in person, and yes, that's one of the benefits of doing that. But anyhow, I know Suzanne, you were picking up there. I did want to just cover, as you're bringing up some of the slides, some of the foundational items that really help to kind of ground our concept here. Again, we have a lot of experience with some of these corridors and have done this on many projects in many cities. And one of the things I would say that it really helps to bring is really a sense of pride and care from the community and visitors. There's oftentimes decreased maintenance needs, typically as cities move away from hedges and lawn areas. There's also benefits such as biological things and crucial pollinators and wildlife benefit from it. But there's also economic vitality and enhancements that come forth as well, and a series of other benefits. So we understand that the city is a gateway to the pinnacles and really a gem there within the valley. And again, commend the city really for taking on this effort, along with some of the other things there. I think it's very forward looking. So anyhow, just wanted to share some of that. Looks like the exhibits are up. So Suzanne, if you want to take it from there.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt. I'm not going to be going over every single plant with you, although I could spend hours talking about plants. But what we wanted to do mainly in the choice of our plants was several things. One is that all of the plant choices we made are drought tolerant. They're easily to maintain, and we wanted to focus on tying them in with the existing plantings that you have throughout the city corridor, the Front Street corridor. So this particular example is a parkway entrance planting, and it has existing African sumac. And as you can see, what we're trying to do is just bring in some more color to it and to replace basically all the dirt and mulch that's just underneath the existing trees. So in this area, we're talking about using some Arctostaphylos, which is manzanita, blue sages, coast rosemary, which is a small, small plant that you can see that has a little white flower, some agaves, red sage, some pops of orange. In this case, we're using a grass that has an orange color to it, carex. Also bright yellow sundrops and some other sages. And what we did is, if you can see, it's hard to see with the plants, but we used the plantings in masses wherever possible. And you will see that as I go through the slides, that we repeat the plant palette throughout. Next slide, please. All right, so this is the median planting. This is at Front Street, and here what you can see is that we are keeping the existing London plane trees, and because this is in a more central location, we're really kind of bringing up the colors. Part of the reason for that is we wanted it to be a nod to the Mexican history with Soledad, And we were inspired by the beautiful murals that you have by your new visitor center. And also, we feel once the future container plaza goes into effect, that this is going to be a real hot spot within your town. And so we tried to embrace that. And so we used vibrant colors, we used textures, and different types of foliage and flowers to provide a lot of visual interest. Next slide. So this is the bermed planting area that's pretty far north. It's near the 101 entrance. And in here, one of the tasks that we needed to do is make sure that that we planted in such a way that you don't have a lot of runoff, which seems to be an issue at this point because of wind, and in this case also the addition of it being a mounded planting area. The existing olive trees will remain, and again we used some ground cover to create a way for the soil to be retained. And again, we used the same agaves, purple sages, red sages, some textural things with some silver grasses, the sundrops, and orange kangaroo paws. And like I say, you'll start hearing the same plants over and over, and see that, you know, we don't do everything the same, but we try and have enough of the same so that it's a cohesive whole from one end of Front Street to the other end. Next slide. And this is an example of the bulb out plantings. Through Front Street, you have a lot of beautiful strawberry trees existing, which also create a lot of shade. But again, you know, we're tying it in. In this case, I'm picking up the oranges with the carex grasses, the reds again, the yellows, also some kangaroo paws, and the vibrant purples. And, you know, we wanted to have a lot of fun. You know, I mean, part of planting should be that there's something for everyone. And, you know, these things are, like I say, drought tolerant, and just provide a happy experience, which is what we want from visitors and the community. And the last slide. So we decided to do a simulation for you of what we envision the planting area to look like. This is the planting area that I first showed you, the median planting with the plane trees. It's in the heart of the city. Again, it's a riot of colors, textures, different things going on. We also included the new crepe myrtles that you've just planted in the current landscape improvement plan, just to give you an idea of how we see the downtown coming alive with plants and flowers, and obviously with all of your other improvements, just getting people in there and enjoying your town. And that's it from my perspective. One thing I did not discuss was something sexy, which is irrigation. So in terms of the irrigation, just to let you know that our plan is that all of the irrigation in these planters will be drip irrigation. That way you won't have any overspray, which is happening now, you know, in the median planters in particular. It also is best, since you have such windy conditions, that we use the drip in terms of economy of water, and like I say, no overspray. And so it also helps keep the water budget down as well. And so with that, I hope you have enjoyed the exhibits. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them for you. Or Matt.
Yeah, thank you so much, Susanna. Thank you, Matt, as well, for those renderings, or the vignettes. They were really, really nice to look at, and the assortment of plants provided as well. So let me take it out to the public to see if there's any comments from our public before I bring it back to the council to ask questions or comments on the information and on the report. So do we have any members of the public that have any questions or comments on item B3 resolution, or my head, sorry, item B2, the presentation on the Front Street landscape concept? Okay, I see none here in our chambers, and then I'll take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. If there's any individuals that have any comments from those that are joining us via Zoom. Okay, I see none. So I will bring it back to council for any questions and comments. And let me start with Councilmember Caldera. I'll start with you, and then we'll work our way this way.
From what I see, I mean, I believe it's, well, I think it's beautiful. Now, my question to them is, how can they assure us that the same thing's not gonna happen with the big trees, the roots, lifting up the sidewalk and that kind of thing? Or-
So the medians that we are talking about refreshing, we would actually leave the existing trees. And I think in the future with the budgetary year, we probably will come with a budget on how to better maintain trees, because we haven't had funding to do so. So that we can keep the trees that we have trimmed, but the other trees and the consultant can talk, but we picked crepe myrtles, which have less of the same root challenges. They grow a little bit slower, but I think I'll leave it up to Matt to just talk a little bit about the crepe myrtles that are they've already been planted, but he can go into why we selected those new trees.
Yeah, thank you. All good points there, Megan. And, I think what we went around, several varieties of trees with the city and landed on the crepe myrtles because they are really kind of proven trees that have successfully done well in streetscape environments, particularly in kind of settings like this where you don't have a lot of location there or kind of place for the roots to grow. They are not very vigorously growing root systems. They're kind of smaller trees, but they do provide a pop of color and some shade and some vigor to the street. So, Suzanne, anything to add to that?
I think you've hit on everything. The main thing is that the planter areas, aren't that large. And so the crepes only get about 18 feet tall and wide. And like Matt said, they are not known to have invasive roots. And they'll be happy in the planting area size that they were given versus some of the larger shade trees. So in terms of we always say right plant, right place. This one fits the bill. So, compared to what was there before, which was much more aggressive, obviously, this is known as a very good street tree. So, we think that choice that you made is a good one.
Thank you, Susan. So just to clarify though, but the trees already have been planted, so we had approved those trees already previously, so those are already there when we took out all of the some of the pavement, did that whole that was part of the Front Street project that was done. So hopefully in a couple of years we'll be able to see these beautiful trees, right? They're slow growing, but those already been planted. So what we're talking more about now, the extra presentation or work, the 300,000 that is being requested of the council to look at for budgeting, and it's coming from the Measure X dollars to be used, is going to be for the medium, the middle portion, right?
Yeah.
And that's all the different tree varieties.
Yeah, and a couple of the major bulb outs on the west side, is that right?
Yeah, so it'll be in the
Yeah,
entrance,
west side.
the entrance of
Yeah.
town, and then the bollards, and then the main corridor, the middle. So that's the area, council.
And probably I should have clarified through the chair, when what we kind of realized is that once we invest all this money, which is great work along Front Street, we're really just repairing sidewalks and paving, but we're not really addressing kind of the overall look. So we looked at ways that we can really enhance and make a physical change, and some of those include the crosswalks. We have 4 intersection crosswalks that are going to be, that the council approved already. We've done some lighting that we put conduit on the east side of the street. So we are planning on lighting those trees, which will come back. And then we are working to repair or upgrade to the lighting quality of the street lights that we have, and we're still working on that. But we also looked at the landscaping, which is very tired and dull, and you know, there's issues with irrigation, the soil needs remediation, that's why the plants aren't really thriving. So this would, the 300,000 is not just planting the plants, but it's soil remediation and upgrading upgrading the irrigation. And there's a section that we're hoping that we can maybe irrigate. I'm not sure where, if it's Encinal, it's right in front of that little,
The, not hotel, I'm so sorry, but the Parkway entrance planning off the west.
yes, right there is like, little homes or like almost a motel, like, yeah, motor lodge. Where there's no landscaping, it's just dirt, there's no irrigation, so our goal is to, it creates like this break in the landscaping of the front street. So we're looking to hopefully include that in here as well and figure out how to irrigate it. It's a little complicated, but that's something we're looking to try to do.
Okay, thank you, Megan. So let's move on. So I'll move on with the council questions and comments. So Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez.
Yes, my question is about the plants that were chosen. Are these California native plants? And if they are not, are they non-invasive?
Yeah, Suzanne, you want to take that one?
Sure. So in terms of the plants, some of them are California natives, like the manzanitas. Others are drought tolerant plants that are approved and used frequently in our environment. And nothing is invasive. I'm really picky about that kind of thing. So you're not going to see any Mexican feathergrass that, you know, starts spreading everywhere. So I can guarantee, I can tell you with you know, full faith that these are all plants that have been well tested and are non-invasive and typically grow very well in our climate.
So thank you. And then for the existing trees that are in the median, I just wanted to reiterate, or I guess double check that they're not going to affect daylighting. I see Don, I don't know if you want to take it, Wes.
So you're talking about the trees in the existing median
Yeah.
doing the same thing, the ones on the east side, do the sidewalk. There's some minor cracking that we've seen, but comparative to the ones on the east, nothing major that we've seen.
And then they're not going to affect our daylighting initiatives, right? That they're not going to affect drivers moving and stuff. Okay.
We're upgrading the street lights to LED, but the trees in the median shouldn't affect, we have more than enough light.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, and I would just add on to that, Don, that those are deciduous trees or platanus trees or sycamore trees. And we're kind of identifying right now, trying to confirm if they're the eastern platanus acerfolia trees, which don't have as aggressive root structures. If they are the California native platanus, they do have a little bit more vigorous root structure, but I think they are the eastern. And either way, they are deciduous. So you do get a little bit of sun during the winter months, which is more preferred. I think that may be what you're seeing out there today, hopefully. And, I think as they grow, that will continue.
And then I think I zoned out for a second. Could you re-explain how they will be irrigated?
Sure, yeah. Suzanne, you want to share that again?
Sure. We are using drip irrigation for all of the plants since the trees are existing. Sometimes we'll use deep bubblers, but because they've been existing, I'm not sure that we can actually dig the bubblers in without disturbing their root system too much. So we would be putting tree rings with drip emitters surrounding the trees themselves.
I think that's it. They all look really pretty, so I'm very excited to continue our beautification process in Soldat.
Okay, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Cabrera,
I know, I don't have any question.
Councilwoman.
Yes, just one question. Again, thank you for the presentation. Just a quick, for me, because I do it and I know a lot of people do it, I go cross through. So would there be some kind of like gaps for them to just kind of cross through, or is it just gonna be fully covered with plants?
So unfortunately, that invites jaywalking.
Yeah.
And if we definitely discussed that.
Mhm.
I brought it up and Megan brought it up. We discussed it in full. And the liability, if you put in pavers or something mid-block and invite people to cross the street there, the liability is something that we just don't want to go there.
Okay,
It's difficult, yeah, because technically you need to go to each intersection and cross the street.
yes.
And we do have cut through paths in the downtown area that have just through time, people going through there have cut, but we really can't promote it.
I mean, it's not even promoting, it's just like, just the nature of habit, it just cross, and I mean, they don't think about that jaywalking. So we have to kind of retrain our community not to do that, because I know it, I mean, I'm gonna admit, I do that. But I mean,
We all do.
that's just, just educating our
And if you have to
community.
jump over something, you maybe have a heightened awareness to watch for cars.
Right. Yeah, thank you, that's all I said, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Councilwoman, Peñalos, because that was one of my concerns, and I think what happened before is, I remember when we had the beautification many, many moons ago, and there was a lot of plants, and because maybe there wasn't a drip irrigation system, they didn't continue, right? So that created all these little gaps, and people just started using them, as pathways, because it is a long corridor from one side to the other, right? And I think it's just, again, I mean, it's like everything else, people need to change their behaviors, and so it is a different perspective, and I think it's the beautification effort that I think it's important for us, but I think one of my questions is, because I know that councils many years before us invested a lot of money in our downtown to be able to renovate it, and here we are again, investing and pulling out trees that were planted many years ago without arborists or, I don't know, consultation, right?
It was a substitution that wasn't approved.
Exactly. And so we want to make sure that if we're gonna invest that much money, and it's our public dollars money, that it's not going to be 10 years from now, councils are gonna be tearing all these trees out because, again, they uprooted, or all of these plants, because they are no longer doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I think that's my concern, because our downtown many years ago looked really nice. And then all these flowers that they planted were gone now. So I think for me is, what are we gonna do to ensure that there's a long-term maintenance to ensure that our flowers in 5 years, 2 years from now, there's nothing there anymore. I think that's my concern, because if we're gonna invest money now, I wanna make sure that that money that we invest really, can continue to provide the beauty for our community for the years to come.
So yes, as with any project, we'll get an operations and maintenance plan from the landscape architects to make sure that we use the right fertilizers and we maintain the new landscape, so that it does last more than 10 years.
So are we doing that, Don? So I guess I just want to make sure that we as a city are saying we're gonna invest, if the council invests in saying we're gonna expend another $300,000 from the already 1 million in this project, that there's a commitment that there's going to be staffing to be able to maintenance and make sure that our plants don't look horrible. You know, once we plant them in a year later, 2 years later from now, when they start growing out and we're not taking care of them and we're not maintaining them. That's my concern, is to make sure that not only are we talking about the plants, but we're also talking about a plan for maintaining them and making sure that a year from now, 2 years from now, you know, the beauty is gone.
So that is the intent, that staff and augmented with local landscape contractors will fully maintain. We'll get the training from the landscape architects to properly maintain them. We do a pretty good job now. Our downtown does look pretty good with the way we maintain it, because it's an emphasis. That's the best looking area. We'll continue with that with the new plants, and we'll have further discussions with Matt and Suzanne to make sure that they're easily maintainable. They're not, you know, really difficult to maintain and delicate, so that we could lose them.
Yeah, Don, I was just going to touch on that's one thing that we'll be able to help guide as well. You know, we certainly think about them being lower maintenance than what you have out there right now. There's a lot of hedging and things of that nature. So, you know, that can maybe help to reposition some of that value to other things that, you know, will help to make it look good for the long term. But to that point, you know, Don, we'll be working with him and the team there really to look at long-term maintenance needs, other things such as irrigation too, and how to, you know, keep that up so that the planting looks good for many years to come.
And through the chair, I think this is where we look to council to think about, you know, as we budget, we, like, a good example is we didn't really budget for tree trimming for many years, so ARPA allowed us to do some catch up. But, you know, thinking about how we can incrementally budget for things like tree trimming, plant replacement. And also I think there's some accountability, and this is where I think economic development comes in working with the businesses around it, because they need to be part of the beautification effort, and they need to also help. They need to let us know when things are needing replacement, and maybe even help support, you know, replanting efforts when we have them. So I think moving forward, we can look at that, and maybe at some point we do need to investigate a property improvement district or some type of a assessment for downtown to help with maintenance of the significant investment that the city has made, as exists in other communities in the county.
Yeah, thank you, Megan. I think that's for me. Just, I want to make sure we have a maintenance plan and that there's an outline, you know, budget priorities to be able to maintain that and how we're going to do it. So it doesn't get, I mean, this is probably the lowest priority in terms of other maintenance projects that you guys have on your plate. So that it doesn't become, well, you know, we have a priority project and this isn't priority, but that there's a maintenance plan. So if we can get a maintenance plan, I think that would be important to be able to do along with that. And then my other question is in terms of the purple pipes, because I know we're really trying to do a lot of the recycling projects around our city. Obviously the drip irrigation is going to help, because that helps also to lessen with the water, but we can't do any of the recycled. That doesn't accommodate for any recycled water.
No, the water use will be so minimal.
Okay.
It would cost so much to bring in a separate pipe system with the purple pipes. The payback would be never, because it's just drip irrigation. The payback definitely works for turf irrigation, because that's much bigger water use.
Okay, thank you for that. And then my last question is just in terms of the funding, because I know the funding is going to come from the Measure X dollars, but it didn't say in the report that this would restrict use for other road maintenance projects for this year. So we are just really 4 months out of the next budget cycle. So is it for the next budget cycle, not necessarily for the next year, right? So if that's the case, we only have 4 months and then we start a new budget cycle.
It's true, July 1st starts our new budget cycle, but every summer we intend to do a pavement maintenance project. You may recall the presentation from Pavement Management Inc. that pretty much describes we have to hit it hard every year. And if we have more money we can put into our pavement management system to keep our index high, the better. This is a huge hit to that same fund that maintains our pavement. So in lieu of doing a pavement maintenance project this year, we'll be doing this landscape project.
Okay,
So we'll
so,
basically be skipping a year of pavement maintenance because landscape and especially on Front Street is important as well. But it does put us a little bit behind on our pavement maintenance by
okay,
using this kind of money to do a landscape refresh.
so we didn't do any this year. Is that what I'm hearing? We have 4 months left in our budget and we didn't do any pavement project maintenance? Cause I thought.
So yes, we did a citywide crack seal
Okay.
project last fall. So within this fiscal year, we did a pavement. But for this coming summer, which July through September is our pavement maintenance season, we probably won't be able to do much. If we do a small project, it's economy of scale, it's more expensive. So we'll probably go without a maintenance project this summer if we go forward with the landscape.
Okay, but that's for next year. Just want to clarify that.
Next fiscal
Yeah,
year.
Next fiscal year.
Next
because-
year. And
This year. we do that.
I will add that we do have a mini assessment district, so that maintenance comes from a different budget, so we might be able to move forward with some of the assessment. This is money that is citywide, so it's not that we won't do any maintenance, it just might not be in those areas that don't have an assessment.
The budget's pretty much 700,000 a year for pavement maintenance. As Megan mentioned, probably 200 or 300 of that comes from assessment district, which we would still have the funding, but we won't have it for the rest of the city this year.
Okay,
This
good.
coming year.
So,
Next fiscal
okay,
year.
good. I just wanted to clarify that because I know that was in the report and I just want to make sure that we and this, our community understands that. I mean, the budget cycle is only 4 more months, but we did do a maintenance project already for this fiscal year. We just possibly, well, we can still do one for next fiscal year because we'll still have some of that money, but less of that. We just won't do as much of that payment because I know that was something that the council approved and it was something that was important to us because we do have a very low grade, low score,
We have
a
the
very
highest
low
score in the
score. I mean, a high score,
We
which
wanna
means it's
maintain.
bad,
Yes.
right?
No, high score means we're.
Oh, good. Oh,
Good.
okay.
We're
Oh, good.
probably one of the better ones in the county,
Okay,
as pavement goes.
But we want to
Speaking of someone-
maintain that.
got
If
it.
we skip
Okay.
years and things
Good.
like
Well, that
that, we
makes
won't be able to maintain
Yeah.
the level.
Okay,
we're at.
but we'll still be able to do something, so which is okay.
Definitely.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Okay, yeah, thank you. I really love the landscape and thank you for the work that you guys done to be able to bring these plants. Hopefully most of them are native, more native plants.
Yeah, and I was just
Thank you.
gonna say, we're looking for direction, which would be if council wants us to move forward, of course, we'd still come back to council to award any contract, but we want to know, do you want us to go proceed with the bidding process to do the RFP process with this planting plan? And then we will see what we get in terms of cost, and then we'd come back for the 300,000 is just an estimate. It could be less, it could be more. But we didn't want to waste our time if you didn't want us to kind of proceed in this manner.
Hopefully it's not more than the 700,000.
Yeah, I don't think so. We're
Also gives
hoping,
us nothing to,
we're hoping that we can maybe, encourage our local, companies to bid on this. This is the one nice thing about, instead of doing this as a change order, we might have more local companies that can compete for this.
That would be the best scenario. We have 2 landscape contractors in town. Hopefully they'll bid on it if we help them with the prevailing wage part and things like that. It would be great to get a local company.
More dollars circulating in town.
okay, council, then we need direction and that's in That's just a presentation, so you need direction for us to move forward, to be able to move forward with the bidding process, and then it'll come back to
Mhm.
council.
Mhm.
So council, do I get
So,
just an approval?
are we voting for that, for the 300,000 or just?
No, because it's not an.
Just general
It's a
direction.
general direction.
Yeah, if you like, we didn't want to waste time going through a bidding process. If you were like, no, this is not what we want you to do. We're kind of getting direction that, yes, continue to move forward, bid on it, and then we come back and see if you would want to award that bid.
Okay. Sounds good.
I think oh, go ahead.
Yeah, from my part, I think it is a good idea to continue and move forward with the bidding process, and hopefully one of our, local, companies can do it.
Is that your motion?
Okay, no, we don't need a
No,
motion.
just
Just
direction.
the direction.
Minute motion.
I agree, and I do really want to like highlight the mayor's point about investing in the maintenance of it. But I do think that we should move forward with this. I think it would be really good for the city.
So the last maintenance or overhaul we did, 2008, I do know from Frank Trevino, he said, yeah, after a year, they cut off the irrigation. They only did the irrigation to establish it, and that probably wasn't the best bet. This is a much better thought out plan with drip irrigation indefinitely. So, and then training and a maintenance, operation and maintenance plan, I think we'll do much better this time.
But thank you.
And
Thank
to the
you.
chair, I like to consider, because these are considered quote unquote sun plants. So because I see a lot of this on my trails and hiking, so good plants. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, council. So thank you, Don. Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Susan, for joining us as well via Zoom. Thank you. Great job. Thank you.
All
for
right,
the
thank
nice-
you.
Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much.
Yeah, sorry about that technical glitch earlier there, but thank you.
That's okay. We got you back. Thank you.
All right, have a good evening.
Have a good evening. Okay, council, thank you. Looking forward to that full renovation of our front street. Okay, council, we'll move on to item number 3, resolution number 6197 of the city council, approving this is authorizing the city manager to execute a purchase and sales agreement between the city of Soledad and Soledad 92 limited partnership to purchase 860 Morris Circle for $339,990 plus closing costs to provide workforce housing. And so I will turn this over to Megan to provide a report.
Yeah, and I can be really brief. The city council was trying to, back several years ago, work something out with the school district to look at providing workforce housing for city employees. We weren't able to make an arrangement for that, and instead ended up selling the property to the school district. So the great news is the school district is going to be building 20 units of workforce housing for their employees, but we still have the need to look at our own workforce. We have challenges with recruitment, sometimes retention, particularly among the police officers. We're sitting right now on 6 vacancies. So we're looking at ways to help attract employees who might be challenged with not only the affordability of housing, but even finding housing. We have a very thin vacancy. We're under 5% vacancy in South County. So it's very, very difficult even to find a place. So with that in mind, we thought, well, why not take the money that we had intended to have a workforce, a couple of units at the complex with the school district, and take it and potentially purchase our own property to start building our own workforce program. So initially we had hoped to lock down 2, but we have been, the units we were looking at have been sold very quickly. So the last remaining unit, 1-bedroom unit in Las Viviendas, which is a brand new condo complex, is available, and we hope to purchase it at the market rate price of $339,900. with the idea of renting it for workforce housing for city employees first, and then if we're unsuccessful, we would open it up for a moderate rate resident. We will return to council to establish the rental policy for this unit in the next meeting or so. But if we do not purchase this unit now, we won't have the unit to purchase later. And I just want to say that this is a great investment that we're making. It does advance our housing element, which also looks at the importance of providing workforce housing as a key component, and that the individual that is lucky enough to live in this place will be paying rent. So it's not a freebie by any means, but it's a both a way of attracting needed employees and retaining and also a way of retaining ones who may leave because of the housing crisis in the area. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Megan, for that information. So I will start on my right side. Yeah, my right side, and I'll start with Mayor Pro Tem Cabrera. Do you have any questions or comments? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Let me take it out to the public first. Let me take it out to the public for any comments or questions before we actually bring it back to the council. Any members of the public that wish to make a comment on this item that are here in our council chambers? Okay, seeing none, I will ask any members of the public that are joining us via Zoom would like to make any comments on this item. Okay, see no hands raised, and I will bring it back to the council, and then now I will start on my right, and I will start with Councilwoman Banuelos.
I have no comment or question.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Cabrera,
No comment, question.
Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez.
Neither.
Okay, Councilmember Caldera.
No questions.
Okay, thank you, Megan. I don't have any questions, just I want to reiterate the importance of, as you said, for our residents, the city does have to meet, that does have a housing element, and under our housing element, there's a lot of various goals of how the city plans to meet the different ways of the different needs of our housing for all of our residents. So we're tasked with not just a certain population or a certain income category, but the city is tasked with meeting the income needs of all of our residents. So the workforce housing component is there, as well as other housing for other housing populations as well. So I just want to make sure that our city, our residents understand that this is something that we've discussed at length, shared with our residents as well, that we have to be creative in different ways. I know people may think typically cities don't buy or purchase or acquire homes, but it's important for us to be able to think outside of the box in terms of how we're going to meet those needs of our residents. And it's going to be done in various forms. And obviously retaining our workforce is really critical and a key element for us. It's not, it's our officers, but I think this council has gone through years of where we couldn't get a city engineer either, because they couldn't afford to live here. They couldn't find a place to live here. So we've had a lot of challenges with retaining our workforce, and we want to make sure that we have what we need in order to get our workforce here. So with that, I just wanted to make my comments to the community in terms of this item that's before us today. So council, with that, I will, if there's no comments or questions, I will entertain a motion for approval resolution number 6197.
Motion.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem Cabrera and a second by Councilwoman Banuelos. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, so motion carries. Thank you unanimously. Okay, so we'll move on then. Thank you, Megan. Beatriz, thank you as well. So we'll move on to our next item, which is item B-4, resolution number 6198, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Soledad restating, extending a declaration of a shelter crisis pursuant to SB 850, Chapter 48, Statutes of 2018, and Government Code Section 8698.2. And I will turn this over to Megan to give us a report.
Yeah, and I wasn't sure if Mike.
Oh,
wanted
Mike?
to-
I'll turn it over to our city attorney to give us a report.
And I'll try to be brief about this as well. This is sort of a housekeeping matter, but it's an important housekeeping matter. So in the latter part of 2018 and 2019, the governor and the legislature recognized that the cities and counties throughout the state were experiencing significant problems associated with sheltering the unhoused population. As a result of that, they established a homeless emergency aid program, sort of a funding source to provide assistance to cities that were impacted by these problems, as well as a statutory procedure by which individual cities could adopt a declaration declaring a shelter crisis. Somewhat similar to when we establish an emergency situation in the city. We've done that, for instance, for well repairs and so forth. And in making that declaration, you basically are authorized to do a number of things that will help facilitate the development of shelters in your own community. In 2019, the city of Soledad, as well as a number of other qualified cities in Monterey County, adopted these declarations of a shelter crisis. And primarily the focus at that time was to just be eligible to receive some assistance from this new aid program that had been established. And now we fast forward 6 years, and since the adoption of that declaration of the sheltering crisis in 2019, problems have only become much worse throughout Monterey County and the state. And so we find ourselves in a place where it makes sense for us to do, as we do with other types of declarations of a crisis or an emergency, restating the facts and circumstances that justify the declaration of a shelter crisis in the city of Soledad. And then in this time with a bit of a broader view as to taking advantage of some of the benefits that are associated with the statutory procedure that allows us to make this declaration. So while previously, as I mentioned, the city was primarily concerned about being eligible for funding, there are other benefits that come with adopting one of these declarations. You basically can establish by way of ordinance a set of standards for designs and building and so forth that are relaxed, that will not impede the process of establishing shelter for the unhoused and so forth. And so we would rely, of course, on our own departments to come up with a list of things that we would want to do and bring it back to you for at a later point in time. But that's one of the big benefits, is that we can adopt some standards and design guidelines and so forth that would only apply to the establishment of these shelters for the unhoused. The other things take advantage of the fact that the legislation provides an exemption from CEQA for this type of housing. Again, this is somewhat similar to what was done with the ADUs when they came in. It was a great idea for housing, and there were relaxed standards by way of statute at that time. This is a way that allows cities, individual cities, to address some of the impediments to the development of shelter for the unhoused on a citywide basis. So the document that you have before you, basically, we attached the old sheltering declaration, crisis declaration, which was pretty straightforward. This one is got more facts, basically concerning, the recent counts, the what's it called, the point in time count and so forth, and it references some other issues that brought up. This also may be very helpful for us to adopt this the declaration of crisis, sheltering crisis, because of our current efforts to develop the Soledad Interim Housing and Navigation Project, and perhaps some other projects in the future that will address some of the problems with the unhoused in the city. So staff is recommending that the council consider, ask any questions, and then adopt the declaration of sheltering crisis for the city by way of resolution 6198. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Yeah, thank you, Mike, for that. Let me take it out to the public first to see if we have any comments or questions from our public. And for those that are joining us here in our chamber, there's none. Okay, so I will take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. Okay, and see no hands raised either, so I will bring it back then to the council, and I will start with on my left with Councilmember Caldera. Any comments or questions?
Well, my comment is that I admit we have a problem, a homeless problem there, and I think it is our duty to to help these people out. And, especially right now in the cold weather and rainy weather. So I'm all for that.
Thank you. Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez,
I'm good.
okay. Mayor Pro Tem Cabrera,
No, I'm okay.
Councilwoman Venegas.
No comments or questions.
Megan, I don't have any comments. I mean, I don't have any questions, but I just want to make a quick comment to our residents as well, and just to reiterate, thank you. Here's another part of our housing element that we have of how we're going to support housing our homeless population as well, which is included in our housing element. But also, as what was in the report, is in 2019, the council adopted the county's Lead Me Home plan. That gave us the opportunity as well to declare the emergency that we had, obviously understanding that we had an unhoused population. But also, the city didn't have the funding to be able to initiate a navigation center, construct something of what we're trying to do now. That gave us an opportunity to be able to work in partnership with the county and submit an allocation for funding through the state, and receive, as part of that funding that came to the city, I want to say 4.3 million. 4.7. So 4.7 million that we would not have ever had the money to be able to do that if not for making sure that we adopted the plan, that we were working as part of a county-wide effort to address our housing, our homeless population as well. And I know we are working on that. It's taking us some time, but we're finally here. It's an opportunity again to readopt this plan, to recommit ourselves, that not that we haven't done it, because we've been doing it for the last several years. And I want to make sure our community knows that, because we haven't highlighted a lot of that work that's been done in the encampment. But for the last 2 years, there's a lot of work that's been going on to clean up the encampment, to take, I know Beatriz has been out there and assessing all of the individuals that we have to be able to construct this interim housing navigation center, and hiring a person, a navigation homeless person, position, right, to help us. The housing that's going to be constructed will be for another 2 years. And so this is really important to us, another opportunity to help us really house those that need it. We have the funding, we have the partnerships, and it's just making sure that we can move forward with doing what we already know that we need to do for this for our population of unhoused. So with that, I just want to say thank you for putting this together, for making sure that we're continuing the work. And I just want to make sure that the city continues to highlight and share with our residents the work that we have done throughout the last 2 years, because many of our residents don't know, even to date, that there's people that are housed already outside of the encampment, that are being housed during this time of the weather, because we have those vouchers, the hotel vouchers, to be able to house them there. And so all those efforts are really critical, Megan. So I just ask that we really do, make sure that we're informing our community of all those efforts. So with that, council, if no further questions, then I'll entertain a motion to adopt resolution number 61, resolution number 6198.
So moved.
Okay, second. So I have a motion on the floor. I seconded already.
No, you didn't.
Yeah. By Mayor Pro Tem Cabrera, and a second by Mayor Velasquez. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so motion carries unanimously. Thank you. So we'll move on to item number 5, resolution number 6199, a resolution of the City Council, the City of Soledad, authorizing the city manager to execute amendment number 1 to the County of Monterey Agreement for Professional Services for the Encampment Resolution Funding Program. Round 3, to increase funding by 200,000 for a total not to exceed 2.155 million and amend the budget accordingly. So now I will turn it over to Beatriz Trujillo.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Beatriz Trujillo, the Active Community and Economic Development Director, and I'm pleased to be joined today by a new staff member, and I will let her introduce herself, but this is part of the work that we have done through the Encampment Resolution Fund. This is the position that you approved a while ago, and we're happy and excited to have her join our team. We will hear some of the updates today. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kimberly Herrera. I have been working with the unsheltered population for about 4 years, providing direct wraparound services as well as managing operations of a youth program. So I'm looking forward to working with the community.
Thank you. Welcome. Welcome. We've been waiting for you.
I know I probably shouldn't interrupt, but she was at the encampment today, and I think they're gonna talk a little bit about some of the stuff that they did today.
Perfect. Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, definitely we needed the help. So you will hear a little bit more about that. So we'll start with a little bit of the basic information about this is the recommendation which the major has already read for us. But because I recognize that we have new council members, maybe I will just give you a little bit of background on how the Encampment Resolution Fund came about. And this is part of the collaboration between Cal ICH and the jurisdiction and the continuum of care to help create safer conditions for people that are living unsheltered. So I really want to highlight our partnership with the county as a small jurisdiction, because even though we have been the boots in the ground and we have really worked closely with different departments throughout the city, Public Works, RPD, but the administrative work and the capacity to actually submit the grant and start doing the reporting really comes from the county. And we wouldn't be, as a small jurisdiction, we wouldn't be able to do that without their support. The county was actually the one that submitted the application to the state. We requested 4.7 million. And the county is keeping some of the funding for administrative costs, but the city for direct services and the construction of the interim shelter, we are getting a little under $2.5 million. The way that we are tapping into this funding is through two agreements. One that we call a standard agreement with the county, and that is covering salaries, direct services, and hotel vouchers. That contract is gonna remain untouched. I'm here to talk about an amendment to the next contract, which is the professional services agreement that we have with the county. And that agreement was verbally executed by the county in January 7th this year. But since then, we have identified new needs, and that's the agreement that I'm bringing forward today for an amendment. So the partnerships and the shared responsibilities that we have for this project, this is also a recap of what the Encampment Resolution deliverables are. But the city, we are responsible for the construction of the interim shelter and also managing the interim shelter, hiring a homeless services coordinator, which you have met, that's Kimberly, and establishing the motel voucher program, which we have also started. The county, they are responsible for the grant management, for creating and amending the subrecipient agreements as needed, and to help us with the selection of service providers. One of the service providers that we have already identified, and it's been a great addition to our team, is Step Up. They will be the interim shelter operator, but they're also providing case management, client intake. They're providing, they will provide housing financial assistance. That means when people are ready to transition to traditional housing, they will provide some subsidies in the day-to-day operations of the interim shelter, as well as outreach and referrals. These are the eligible activities with the grant. So staffing and admin costs, housing units and construction costs, the operator, rental assistance, and vouchers. The term of this funding is from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2027. And that pretty much was a quick overview of what the project is, what our commitment is, our responsibilities. But the amendment that we are presenting today is, like I said, for the professional services agreement. This only includes the purchase of the modular units and the site development, property management and security costs, and The new, which is still one of the allow activities within the grant, but given the weather conditions and also the time that it's taking to build the interim shelter, part of the delay on building the interim shelter is that even though we were awarded the funding last year, the funding didn't come to the county from the state until late fall, September, October. So even though we knew that we were awarded back in April, we were not able to really move forward without the money until late last year. So since then, new conditions have arrived, new concerns have arrived at the encampment. One of them, as every winter, I think we run the risk of the riverbed getting flooded. And you have seen the weather has been very extreme. We have started the hotel voucher program, but that's through the standard agreement, and we'll provide an update on that. But given the current conditions and also that most of the people are sitting in private land, we are afraid that people might have to be removed and we don't have a location for them to use yet. So the idea is to have a very provisional encampment where we can, and we have talked to the police department to see also what's more manageable as part of our responsibilities. They do agree that identifying a site that can be fenced, that can be monitored, is easier for them and it's also safer for everyone. So that is a temporary solution that we have talked to the county about while the interim shelter is getting built. So that's where we're getting the additional money. As you can see on this budget, the first column, the original budget, we had $0 for the provisional encampment. And we're getting $168,331.60 for that activity. That it's an allowed activity within the grant. It's just that we hadn't budgeted for a provisional encampment. This is coming from the county's contingency funds from the encampment resolution. And then the other thing that they included, they gave us a little bit more money for the actual modular units. And so that's an additional, altogether, that's an additional $193,331.60. But we're asking for your authorization to receive up to $200,000, just in case that there is any money left on the table that we can use it. And this is the location that I have been talking about. So the parcel 990 Los Coches, that's been the identified location since we thought about the interim shelter. It's big enough, so we think that we can make it work. We have worked with Public Works and we will be engaging in conversations about how we can utilize some of the leveling and some of the work that we do for the provisional encampment, also for the interim shelter. But the idea will be to have the provisional encampment to one side and allowing enough room for the going towards the well number 9. It's our well towards the right of the picture. That will be the interim shelter location as we are working on the provisional encampment going inwards, if that makes some sense. I think Kimberly helped us creating the arrows right there so that you can see where the provisional encampment is and where the interim shelter site will be located. With that, we hope that we are able to create the provisional encampment by mid-March. The sooner the better, but we think realistic it will be around mid-March. And for the interim site, the interim shelter, we anticipate that it will be completed no later than mid-July, hopefully before. But that will be the site where we will have the modular units, and they, even though they are a little, they're gonna be there for a little longer, there is still a temporary solution, so they will be removed by June 2027. And some of the updates that have happened since we started working more intensive, there's always been work with the encampment blocks, but I think lately we have been a little bit more intensive. A lot of the work that has happened, even though we have provided some direct services, some of the work that we have done is really doing the legwork to get to the interim shelter. So some of the work is not as exciting because we're not providing as many direct services as we wish we had, but we have prepped the ground for those services to come online. So today, actually, this slide wasn't on the ones attached to your packet because I updated this based on today. So we actually were able to remove 3 structures from the riverbed, and it sounds like it's only a few structures, but they were the bigger structures. So it was a lot of work for our consultant or our contractor, also Public Works, PD, and Kimberly. She was out there most of the day. We also started providing motel vouchers. With this one, what I will say about the motel voucher program is that we really need to make sure that this is the right placement for people. Even though the weather is very severe, doing a wrong placement can really jeopardize the program. And we have been very intentional about who we provide a motel voucher to, because there's only one motel in town that is allowing us to use it for our program. So we want to keep that relationship with the property owner. And we also want to make sure that we have the adequate staffing to provide the supported services for people to be successful with that placement. Because people have to relearn to live indoors, they need support with that, and that means a lot of time, staff time. So we're being mindful of that. And again, I think I covered the last update at the beginning. We have hired our coordinator. So the financial consideration for this proposed amendment will not affect the general fund. The county will be providing additional funds as part of the Soledad ERF 3 interim shelter project contingency. These are contingencies that they have kept. And that the money is already at the county, so we can tap into it relatively quickly. And what we are asking the city council will need to amend the budget to allow for the acceptance of the additional funding. And with that, if you have any comments or questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Yeah, thank you, Beatriz, and thank you for the update to our community as well and to our council in terms of all the work that's been done. Yeah, so this, hopefully it's not a hard one because we're getting money. We're not giving money.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
we're getting money, so it should be easier. Okay, council, I'll start with Councilmember Caldera. I'll just work my way down here in case you have any questions or, oh, let me go out to the public first. I know we don't have public here now, so I'm just gonna say open, public comments, but we don't have anyone in our chamber from the public, so I will take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom. If there's anyone that's joining us via Zoom that'd like to make a public comment. And I don't see anyone either on our Zoom, so I will bring it back to council. And I will start with Councilmember Caldera, if you have any comments or questions for Beatriz or Kimber.
Just to clarify, the additional 200,000 is for the temporary housing, you said?
Yes, that will be for the provisional encampment. Which that one we are projecting that will only last a couple of months.
Okay, Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. And no, we don't have any questions or comments.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Cabrera.
Yes, welcome, and thank you for being here with us. The other one is, those $200,000 are not from our budget, but it's from the county, right?
That's correct. Yeah, so the total allocation that the county got was 4.7, so that 4.7 included some contingency funding that we did not receive. They were still administering, so they will pass those 200 out of that reserve that they had.
And just for the people to know, the previous item that we worked on is putting the declaration for the emergencies, helping us getting this money, right? Or is
So the declaration, that shelter crisis declaration actually helped, not necessarily to get this funding, because this was funding that was already in the county, but it's helping us move faster when it comes to acquiring some of the supplies that are needed, or maybe securing a contractor to do the work. It will allow us to move faster.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilwoman Manolas.
Just a question, for the public to know, these vouchers, families or, these people that are in the encampment, is there like a long-term in the encampment, or like being selective in the units, or?
Yes, and maybe that's something that I needed to clarify in my presentation. The people that we're serving through this funding in general, including the motel vouchers, These are the residents that have been at the encampment for a long time. Last year, in January 2024, we did the point in time count, and so we got people's, names. We visited the site a couple of times. Of course, the point in time count has to be very early morning, but we went to the encampment a couple of times to make sure that we had everyone on our list. So the vouchers, people that are able to benefit from the voucher is because they have been in encampment since then, and we have them on that list. So being on that list is a requirement to be eligible. Again, we have had more people that have, not that many more, but we have some new people at the encampment who have been there now for several months. And because we're working with other service providers, we do offer referral services, but as far as benefiting from this source of funding, our first priority are the people that are already on our list.
Thank you for mentioning that, because I was just gonna mention that there are new people that I noticed that are in the encampment. So I just wanted to make sure that there's like that list that's been there longer than the others. And then another one too is, thank you and welcome, Kimberly. So thank you. And I'd like to, participate in one of your outreaches. If you don't mind reaching out, I would love to go up and support. Thank you.
We'll go ahead and let you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we plan to do some engagement also for businesses so that they know that the provincial encampment is gonna be close to the marketplace. So maybe that will be an opportunity for Kimberly to reach out.
Yeah, thank you, Beatriz. I mean, I don't have any comments. I obviously thank you for the work that's being done. Kimberly, thank you for joining our team. It was a long time coming, and so we've been waiting for you, so thank you. Thank you for being here. And as Beatriz said, I participated in the point in time count last year, so I welcome, I'll urge the council. I mean, hopefully we got it cleaned up by then, right? We don't have to do it again, but it was an eye-opening experience for me, especially, we don't see it and we just pass it by, right? But to be able to go out there and really see, as Beatriz said, all of the different individuals that live there. And for me, it was really, as a mom, to be able to see young people in their 20s, like, my sons, right? And to be able to know that there's working men as well that go to work and don't have a place to live during the season, and that's where they're going. And that there's been, families that are from here. It's not like they're families that are coming from other places. They're families from here, they're local and they're from this region. So, those are the ones that obviously we've been trying to serve, and the ones that are coming now. I was on a call this morning, with the COC, the Continuum of Care, and, there's a lot of, shelter beds, encampments, navigation centers in Salinas and then Peninsula, but in South County, we don't have many options, and many of our unsheltered don't want to go to Salinas, for many reasons, right? So I just want to stress for the council and for our community that what we're doing here is very unique, because we need it in South County and we really don't have those services. So being able to provide this in partnership with the county has been really monumental for us to be able to support our unhoused. And the hope is that when June of 2027 comes, that all these people, the people that we supported with the navigation center, that they have permanent housing, and that they have the support systems that they need to continue, to lead a healthy life. So that's the end goal, right? So thank you again for everything that you guys have done, and excited to move this forward. So council, with that, if there's no additional questions, then I'll entertain a motion.
Through the chair, just one thing that came to my mind. So once we get all the people out, are we risking that more people will show up and move there? Or are we, is there any connection with the people that own that place to keep it clean or?
Yes, so we have been in conversations with the county, so that they can also provide assistance with enforcement, because once people, I think there will be two reasons why new people may try to show up in that location. One is new people in general, and then the second one, people have been living there for so long that it's gonna take them some time to transition into a different location. So there's a tendency that even though people have identified a new place, they go back to the original place where they were camping. So we have been engaging in conversations with the county to see if we can also get more support from behavioral health, just to help that transition. Also Step Up has been great. They have a very comprehensive approach and holistic approach when trying to redirect people to their new living space. But yes, so we will be it will be very enforced that people are not allowed to go back. We will have signs saying that people cannot camp there. And again, we started already conversations with the sheriff's office saying that we will need more of their support with enforcement.
And then in a new place, what that interim encampment will be, do you think that we also risk the people besides the shelter homes that we're gonna put there? There's gonna be a space right there. Are we risking that more people would come and they start building their camps right there?
When you provide services, there is always
Yeah.
a risk that people will be attracted to that, especially if they know somebody who's benefiting from the program. But especially during the first months, we're gonna have more security that is gonna be not only on site, but also roaming, as part of our agreement. We have already talked to our PD and they agree that especially the first couple of months, it will be a little more intensive patrolling. Until people eventually realize that it's only for those that are participating in our program.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Good question, Mayor Pro Tem, because I think those are like the concerns of other cities, right? When you do this, and I think the conversations with prior councils has been that concern, right? Why we didn't want to move forward with it. But there's programs that for different encampments that have modeled policies, right? To be able to make sure that people don't just come and sit, now we have now we have a bunch of people there, right? So there's gonna be enforcement, there's gonna be on-site. Step Up is gonna be monitoring that, so they're tasked with that to be able to do that.
Yes, and that's also why when we are granting a motel voucher, the condition to access that program is that their structure at the encampment has to come down. So we have experienced some resistance where people say, well, it's already a functional structure, can somebody else use it because people need it? And I think Kimberly has done a great job at navigating those conversations and saying, no, that if it's the goal of the program, I see where you're coming from, but the structure really has to come down. And people are receptive.
Yeah. I mean, just my final comment, because I think, Mayor Pro Tem Cabrera brought this up, and I think it's really important is, obviously one is outreach to our community to let them know what's going on, right? Because they're gonna see people there and they're gonna say, what is going on here? So we really have to make sure we're out in front so people don't start making assumptions that we're the ones that are directing that narrative and that conversation. But also the enforcement, because if we clean up, obviously we're transferring people out and then we have new people come in, we're cleaning that up. We've invested a lot of money in the cleanup. So after that is enforcement, making sure the county does enforcement with the sheriff, because we don't want our PD to have to be, spending their time out there now trying to enforce that when we're trying to resolve an issue here. Now they have to go back out to the river. That there's postings, and then that's also on the property owner, right? After we do our cleanup and the sheriff goes out there, then the property owner now can take over their portion of maintaining that property and it doesn't come back to the city anymore. I just want to make sure that that's what's gonna happen as we move forward, so we're not stuck again and trying to, now we're doing this and now we're doing that as well.
Yeah, I think everyone is in agreement at the city. That will be the case because, Beatrice, myself, and of course, PD and Public Works all have spent a lot of time at the encampment, and we don't wanna replicate and have to do it again. So I think there's a real focus that we will have to enforce. And we will be pinging the county at every turn, reminding them that it's in their jurisdiction as well.
Okay, well, good. Then we'll just make sure that we note that as well to our public, to our residents. So, okay, council, then with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution number 6198.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion on the floor, Councilmember Anselmo Sanchez, a second by Councilwoman Banuelos. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so motion carries unanimously. Thank you so much for all the great work. Look forward to a lot of stuff happening in 2025. Okay, so we'll move on to, we have two more items, council. So let's move on to resolution number 6199, a resolution of the city council authorizing.
We approved.
Oh, did I already?
We just have one last
Oh,
one.
yeah. Awesome, okay, sorry. All righty, so we're on item 6, council discussion on resources and travel. So I will send this over to Megan. Hey.
Yeah, so just to get quick to the chase, I think council had discussed maybe agendizing items to discuss potential ways of educating people about the new districts and providing some type of resources or potentially a neighborhood gathering per district in honoring the shift over. And then in addition, I think, you know, we have, I think I mentioned the last time we've expended our travel budget this year. It's kind of a first for us, which is good because you guys are very interested in investing in your training. But there was a request to attend the leadership summit by Cal League of Cities, which is a really good opportunity, especially for the legislative committee. But we do not have any additional funds. So given that that's coming up in April, there might be, you know, a discussion of, I think we could probably afford to send one person to that training so we can discuss whether or not you would like to do that. And we're just looking for general guidance on the direction, because it'll take a little time and that way we can build it into next year's budget. I think this is a good conversation to have right now in February, because we're really, we, you know, really are doing a lot of the budget preparation in April, so we don't have a lot of time. So, I did put this on the agenda. I think it's more for you. But if you have any questions, the background information is in the staff report, but I'm open. But I think, you know, this is a dialogue for you all to have and to provide the direction to me. And so I can provide it to staff.
Yeah, thank you, Megan, for bringing this forward. I know there was discussion on it. So let's see what we can do. It's 8:49. I know, let me take it out to the public first to see if there's any questions, and then we'll bring it back to see what the discussion will look like with the council. I know some already had some interest in, you know, on this item. So any members of our community that, you know, want to comment on this? There's none here in our chambers, but let me take it out to those that are joining us via Zoom to see if there's any comments, and there is none. So I will bring it back then to the council for discussion. And I think we have two things before us. Obviously, Megan did state the one in terms of the travel for the summit that's coming up. So that's one of the items. And then the other discussion item is more just broad in terms of the district outreach resources and the travel. But I think some of that travel discussion can also take place during the budget process, because we really need to make sure that we have a thoughtful discussion on the budget and for next year, and if we're going to include the travel. I know there's money already for the council, but if we want to break it down, I think it needs to include a thoughtful discussion by the council regarding the budget for next year and what the budget looks like, and do we have money, and if we don't, where are we going to get it from, and if that's sufficient money or not. And so I think that's a broader discussion for the budget process. So with that, I will, let me just open it up, because I know this is, you know, everybody is going to have comments on this. So I'll just open it up for whoever wants to go first.
I want to start actually with the district outreach. I think it's a good idea, but I do want to state that Mayor Pro Tem and I are elected at large and will be until through 2026. So I don't know if it makes sense right now to have budgets per district. I am in favor of district outreach though, but I feel like that budget should come from community engagement. Or anything should be funneled through community engagement. And I think if we want to outreach to folks and to constituents in certain districts until we are all elected by district, I think we should just kind of team up with community engagement to kind of get the word out for now. That's my initial thoughts, I think, on that piece.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, council?
I also want to make a comment. You know, I know I had this discussion with Megan, but you know, for being in the district and elected in the district, I mean, I do have interest in, you know, having the city help me do like an outreach, you know, a district outreach, you know, with the community. And it doesn't have to just be stayed in my district, but anyone else is welcome, but you know, focus more on, you know, my district and see what comments, what concerns, you know, on my district that, you know, we need to bring up to you into discussion.
Okay. So thank you for that. So, okay, so I'm taking notes so I can see the kind of the themes that you guys are bringing up. So anybody else?
Anything else with that?
Yeah, actually, resources, you know, resources and, of course, you know, I know that, Megan, please correct me if I'm wrong, if I do, when I plan to do the district outreach, city will, you know, just kind of help me. I don't think there would be any type of budget. It's just in regards to, you know, social media flyers or in that manner. How would that work? I'm not sure. Maybe we can have a discussion later. Travel, I think travel also, you know, I do have some interest in going to the leadership summit. Because we want to make sure that we continue to be involved. And of course, Cal Cities is a great organization that we're under, and, you know, just to continue getting that training and networking with other cities and kind of getting their ideas and bringing them over here to, you know, to Soledad.
Okay, anyone else?
From my side, I think that I agree with Councilmember Saldo Sanchez. From my perspective, we can individually do outreach, maybe just walk around the city, walk around our district, but we're not elected by district yet. So it should be just a general canvassing around the city. If you wanna get in touch with that community, attend more events so that you're in touch with what is going on and be informed and be available for the residents so that you can bring updated information to them. On the other side, the training, I love going to those conferences because of the knowledge, the information, and the connections that we get with other people, and the ideas that some of those guys have, some of those policies that they start or they looking at. When you get involved in those conversations, there's always something new that you never thought about it. But I've been in those conferences, in the summit and in the other one twice. So I'm not, if we only have money for one person, I'm okay with not going. The newest members should be attending, but I do want to go to that conference at the end of the year, but that is within the next budget.
Yeah.
So
we could talk about it.
I do have a meeting that is going to happen in April, I think. The same thing that I went to the other day, in January. I'm not sure if I'm going. Because if we don't have, money budget for that, but I can miss one. Then, those are opportunities that are gonna come for all of us. And if we have the opportunity to be representing the Monterey Bay Division or the Hispanic or other, any other of the caucuses, that is an extraordinary opportunity, leadership opportunity that you can take. And I think that we should also allocate a little bit of money for that in case that one of us have one of those assignments as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So I did note for you, Mayor Pro Tem, and we can have this discussion, but just so staff can know that you are requesting for the Cal Cities Annual Conference, which I know is a big conference that happens in October.
Yeah.
For the next budget cycle. Okay, anybody? Okay,
If I may add, I'm actually interested also in the training, whatever training we can, I can get to bring me up to par. Given that we have the budget. I would like to add and actually reiterate what Mayor Pro Tem and Councilmember Saldo stated right now, that I believe we should wait or do a citywide kind of engagement with the community. I believe that's probably the proper thing to do, because I mean, yeah, of course, we have districts, but I mean, I think altogether it will probably be, I think it would be nicer, neater, I mean, get everybody involved and hoping we get a better turnout.
okay, so have more of the citywide. Like, I mean,
Engagement.
yeah, like town halls or like,
town hall, yes.
like, but town halls or what are they, listening sessions?
Even if we have to do a barbecue for them.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Anything.
If we have the budget there.
Yeah, if we have, yes.
I can pitch.
Okay, so council, any other?
Yeah, I only spoke about the district outreach. I don't know why I thought we were gonna do one and then the other.
No. we
So
can
I'm
do-
just gonna go back and finish my thoughts then, because I didn't get to give my thoughts about the training.
Okay,
Training and travel. I think that moving forward, I know we have a steering, planning, sorry, what is it called? I have so many committees.
the policy.
Oh, no, on March 1st, what are we doing March 1st?
Strategic
planning.
I think we'll have the discussions then, but I think right now I would really like to maybe move to, instead of having an all council budget for travel and training, I think it should be aggregated by council member. That way that there's more of an idea of like what we can spend, and I think it'll make it easier for us and hopefully make it easier for you, Darlene. To kind of see like, okay, well, you're gonna go over your budget, once you hit this number a year, it's out of pocket for you. I think that's something that we should move forward, which will mean that we will probably most likely have to increase the budget. I think what's nice about this council is that we're very interested and involved in trainings and wanting to learn more about how we can learn and then bring these resources to our city. As it comes down to this is gonna be really funny for me to say, because I was going to recommend that the leadership summit be, if we're sending someone, it should come from the legislative ad hoc committee, but I'm on it, so it's weird for me to say it, right? And then you already said that it's okay if somebody else goes, so now it's just me saying that I wanna go too, but I do think that because we are on that legislative ad hoc committee and we already have conversations with Townsend and are bringing our, proposed, what is it called, do you remember? Our platform, I think it would make
Legislative platform.
more sense for either myself or Mayor Pro Tem to attend. So that's my piece on that. But then just kind of rounding out my thoughts about the district outreach, I think it's very important. And I do think that if Councilwoman Banuelos wants to do something for her district, I think it's okay if there is any budget to assist her in doing that. I think that should be fine, but I think it kind of falls under community engagement right now. And I do want to say that because we did move to districts, and I think some of us were very vocal about how we wanted these districts to look like. We're not saying that we're not interested now in educating you on the districts. I want to reiterate that we just, because we're elected at large, we want to make sure that the people that voted for us at large, for myself, and I'm sure that you feel the same way, feel that we're still representing you even if we live somewhere else, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that was where I was coming from. But I think that's it for my comments.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you. So I think what I was trying to capture is, so one is obviously there is a support for training and travel and being strategic about that. And making sure, so I heard the same from all of you, and I think that's really important. I've stressed that many years ago. Now, you know, there was, years when I was the only one that was going to conferences. I have to say as well that as you know, I report out on some of my boards that I served, and I served on a lot of different boards as part of the Cal Cities. I was on the Cal Cities board, as I'm still on the Latino Caucus board as a Cal Cities Latino Caucus board member. And also served on the housing policy. I know Mayor Pro Tem is serving on the taxation and revenue. Taxation and revenue. I served several years for housing. I served several years on the policing and community engagement. So those are good opportunities for you guys to be part of. But I also know that when they have trainings, and they have virtual and in-person trainings, that you have to go, and most of the time it's somewhere else, right? And the travel isn't covered. When I was as a board member and part of the Latino Caucus, my travel was paid because I was a board member, so it didn't cost the city anything. So I just want to make that clear. And then when I did travel with the Latino Caucus, we have a mid-year retreat, which we just had 3 weeks ago. I paid out of my pocket, so I didn't ask money from the city. Those are things that are important to me, so I absorb those costs as an individual. But the travel and training budget is important. I think it's important discussion to have council when we go look at the budget and the budget cycle. And I think these are important pre-conversations, because we really have to be thoughtful when we're looking at the budget to say, where is the money going? What do we need to do? We obviously know we have some major projects before us and some major contracts that we need to address. But looking at what does that budget look like for travel, and if we're gonna invest in travel, then, you know, we wanna make sure that, you know, we're really supporting efforts at the city level as well. But when I had asked, like Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez had mentioned about putting it in a pocket where each council member had a training budget, as opposed to putting it when you have our budget, when you see our budget currently, everything is lumped into a council budget, right? So you can't see who spent money on what. And not that you want to see, but I think it's fair to say, hey, if everybody gets an allocation, then it's up to you to decide what you're gonna do. And to determine, yes, we have all these, you know, Cal Cities, I have to say, has a lot of opportunities, but they also have a lot of virtual trainings, right? They have a lot of other trainings. And so I think it'll be incumbent upon each of you to be able to decide, well, which one do I want to go to? Because I have limited funds. So, you know, prioritizing your travel budget is going to be important, but looking at what are we going to have available to be able to allocate per council member, right? So I think that's important to be able to look at and do it per council instead of a whole budget during the next budget cycle discussion. And I think that's a good, I mean, even for our strategic planning discussion, Megan, in terms of the outreach of how we want to do it once everybody converts, because I'm hearing, like, obviously, you're right, some of you already are voted in by district, and we still have some that are not. So we want to make sure that maybe this is not the good time to do like what I thought would be good was to have a district allocation, so each district would be able to do an event, but because not everybody's voted in by district, maybe this is not the time, but maybe the next budget cycle, next year when everybody gets voted in, then it'll be a good discussion to have, right? But I think that's, I think that's important. I think the other thing that you guys talked about too is the district outreach. So I think in the district outreach, those that you like, Councilwoman Bañuelos, you already have a district, right? Ben, Councilmember Caldera, you already have a district. So I don't think there is a reason why you can't do something and working with community engagement. I think having a conversation about community engagement and what that department does, I think that's a broader conversation for us probably to have during our strategic discussion, because we really need to look at, you know, the formation of that department, what the needs are, and then, you know, what are we doing and what is the focus and how do we maximize that specific department? And I'll say that, Megan, because I know I advocated to have a community engagement department, but I think there's a lot of different things now that we have before us that we have to go back and see, well, what was the ultimate focus? What do we need community engagement to do, right? And now that we have districts, what kind of support are the council members going to need? And is it that department or is it what other departments, right? That can support that, because I know Councilwoman Bañuelos, like, if you want to have a community cleanup, as a mayor, I had community cleanups, right? And I worked, like, in your district, obviously, you know, that was one of the side of towns because it was not very, because it, you know, it was not very, it was neglected. So having a community cleanup there, working with Tri-Cities gives us, you know, opportunities to be able to work with them to have a neighborhood cleanup. How do we do that? But obviously we have to do some legwork, but how do we work, you know, with them to help us? I worked with Maury to help produce flyers. I worked with, with the NJROTC students that helped to do the community outreach to distribute the flyers in the neighborhood. So I think we have to also get resourceful in terms of, okay, if we want to do that, what are some of the resources that we have available in the city, citywide, also with our staff, but also in the city, right? That can help us to be able to do this. You know, if we want to have a community listening session, I've been wanting to do that. And I think it's important, as you said, Councilmember Cabrera is maybe, I mean, Councilmember Caldera, maybe it's important for us to have not individuals by district, but to have, I know traffic has been, we've discussed the traffic has been a big issue in enforcement, right? Maybe we all have a town hall and it's focused on, I know other cities do it, right? We have, hey, these are the 3 town halls that we want to do, and we're doing it collectively as a council. And it'll be focused on traffic, or it'll be focused on housing. You know, we can look at what is the priorities that our residents are saying to us, that we can work with the team to be able to do that. So that way they also know their staff capacity and we're not overwhelming with, hey, I want all of these requests, right? So I think that helps too, to have a plan in terms of the town halls. And I would like, I think those are something easy that we could do for this year is let's have some listening sessions, town halls, because those are needed, right? And those could be citywide. It's, you know, everybody, all of us, so we don't have to do specific ones. And then in terms of outreach is also defining, Megan, I think it's also defining what is the role of our community engagement, right? What can they support with? You know, what do we need to do, but what can they support with? I think that has to be really clear. So that way each of the council members understand, okay, well, I want to do this, but here's what I need support with, and here's what the city's gonna do, and here's what I need to do. I think those are kind of the items that I heard you guys discuss, and then yeah, and then I think once your money runs out, on the travel, then your money runs out and you can't come back and ask for more.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, we all have to be held responsible, right?
that's true.
Yeah.
So through the chair, maybe I can summarize or get some direction. On the travel, we have a $10,000 budget currently. I might suggest that we bump it up if we go by each individual by 2,500. So that would put us at 12,500 as the starting point, and we will obviously look at it for the budget. And I'll check with Mike Howard, but I think that's probably doable, and then we can look even if we can squeeze to 3,000. So maybe in that range, 2,500 to 3,000. And we just went to a new finance system called Encode, which actually allows us to create projects within funds so that we can pull that information and track. So I think we're now equipped to track it, as in the past, the reason why it was more of a lump sum. Two reasons: was because not everyone took advantage of the training, and secondary because we didn't have the finance system that we do now. I don't know, does that sound good? And we can talk through that a little bit more for the budget.
For the next budget cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only question I have is, do we want to do anything about the leadership?
Oh, yeah.
Summit,
So, which is in April.
So I would recommend, because I know, and so let me make my recommendations, council, and then get some feedback from you. And I would, if Mayor Pro Tem is not interested in going and Councilmember Ansaldo wants to go, I would recommend for Councilmember Ansaldo to go, only because he is part of the legislative committee. And I want to just remind the council, the legislative committee was formed for a purpose, right? So we have engagement with our legislative representatives. As many of you know, obviously I work for a legislator, so I understand the importance of that. But we also, part of what the city has done is we've invested in hiring Townsend, or we have a contract. There's a contract with Townsend. They do our legislation advocacy, plus they do our grant writing. And part of having them and then forming the legislative subcommittee was so the subcommittee works with Townsend to be able to have an advocacy platform that then we can share with our legislators, right? And whether we have opportunities to do it here, which I know as your mayor, I'm gonna engage in making sure that we meet with all of our legislators and we have those annual meetings, because it's important to have those annual on-site meetings. But I think being in Sacramento, working with Townsend to schedule meetings, because that's what we did last year. The council member then, Mayor Pro Tem and myself, attended the summit, the legislative summit. And what Townsend did for us is they scheduled meetings with representatives from Speaker Rivas's office. We met with representatives from Laird's office, Senator Laird, and my Senator Caballero. So we already had designated meetings with them before we even went up to Sacramento, and they can do all that for us because that's what we pay them for. And it's important because now you get to go there and you get to see them or their staff, and they get to know the city. So one of the things that I've stressed upon the council is our legislators are there to support us as well, right? I mean, we're not always gonna approve all their legislation, but they are there to support us. We've had, district earmarks that they've had opportunities this year. We probably will not have opportunities for that because of the budget deficits and the fires in LA, but we did have a allocation of $2 million from our state senator to be able to purchase our ladder truck. So there's a lot of reasons why we want to make sure that we're connecting. And I know for us, fentanyl was a big issue because we had one of our own that passed away just right before he graduated several years ago. And there was a lot of fentanyl bills, and we wanted to talk about public safety when we went to those legislative advocacy meetings. So all of that is really important because if our legislators know us and know our issues, and hopefully they're advocating for us as well in our community. So my recommendation would be that.
And just to add a little bit is that it's also important because we have the opportunity to advocate for our city, to present our city, and they don't just remember us, they just remember the city, what we're doing and what we're looking for to do for our residents. And it is important that somebody from the city, representative from the city, comes to them and let them know what our needs are, because they can generalize, you know. Citizens in California need this, but when we are present right there and we are presenting our city and presenting the needs of our city on our residents, they take more, they take more serious. You know, and I think that is important that we keep pushing, not just so that we can tell them what we need, but also so that we can bring some skills to help our residents, so that our residents know that they are represented in Sacramento as well.
Yeah, thank you for that, and that they have a voice. So if we want to be strategic, my recommendation is, I think we've been trying to be strategic in what we've done to hire Townsend, to have a legislative advocacy committee, right? And now if we're gonna send my recommendation, if we're gonna send anyone, would be someone from the legislative committee, because they're already doing the work. They already have been working with Townsend. They're doing the legislative platform advocacy. And it's more comprehensive. So that would be that's my recommendation on that. If we have the funding.
Yeah.
I think we do, don't we, Megan? We do have fun to send one. Okay.
Yeah, and I think, I will reach out to Deanna and just ask, like, hey, we're a disadvantaged community. Is there anything that you could help us with regarding that? We haven't really asked, and so I think maybe the time is now. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can ask. I never heard it as part of the board, whether we give money to disadvantaged communities, but that would be.
Never hurts to ask.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, in
I
that
mean,
case.
Yeah, we're
Never hurts to
not,
ask.
we don't have the resources of,
Yeah.
you know, Monterey or Pacific Pro, so. we'll see.
Yeah, and sometimes they don't even go, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
there's only a few representation, so. I think, yeah, if they're able to, but I think, but council, I would recommend that if we have the funding available, then the recommendation, just to be strategic, continue with our strategy, is to ensure that Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez, as part of the Ledge Committee, is able to attend.
And if we ask Deanna, I'd like to go to
Diana.
the Monterey Division.
The
Oh,
DNS systems, yeah, but I think we don't want to, I mean, my recommendation would be that if we have the money, but if we don't have the money, then we're not trying to get additional
Yeah,
additional
we do.
dollars, but if there is additional dollars, the consideration.
Okay, yes, I'll take a look at that. And then, I did want to comment a little bit on the outreach. It'd be really good. It sounds like through the strategic plan to define a little bit the roles of each. I think that's a good idea between community engagement and council, because there also needs to be some level of baseline support that is going to be agreed upon, because I do know from the previous jurisdiction that I worked on, there was one council member who was constantly asking for a lot, and it was consuming staff's time, and it wasn't equitable across the different council districts. So I think just thinking about establishing, like, okay, we're gonna, you know, assist with, you know, one listening session, or, and as the mayor said too, I do think thinking about, you know, making sure that if we do some of these things, we're not gonna have a meeting of one, you know what I mean? Where maybe canvassing would be more effective, because you can go door to door instead of asking people to come where we are, going where they are. And of course, we are willing to support, but there's so many priorities, because community engagement is doing a lot. They are involved with the legislative platform. They're also involved now a lot with immigration and trying to, you know, coordinate some of this immigration stuff. They're taking on the youth council, they're trying to expand the civics academy, which is a lot of the engagement stuff. Plus they're, getting out the newsletter, and I just want to be realistic about what their capacity is. Now, of course, if your priorities are different, we can shift community engagement around, but I think we just need to, give them some, what does support or help look like? Because we always want to help you. And it's not just community engagement, goes with Darlene, myself, the whole team. We want to help you. And, like having a listening session on public safety is a great idea, because I think we can involve more than just engagement, but the police department, public works. And it seems like a big issue that hits every part of town, but just, being strategic about the staff resources that we have is really, I think, great that we're gonna have the strategic planning process, because he is going to get into the nitty gritty. So I think that will help with the resources. But as you're thinking about what this support looks like, because we certainly want to educate people on the districts and support the work that you guys are doing, but realize that it's a shared workload. And I know all of you like pitch in, so I'm not suggesting that you aren't already doing your fair share, but just thinking about how that looks. Like, I can do this, but I just need a flyer. Could someone help me with a flyer kind of thing? Could we print up a flyer? So looking forward to having that discussion. It sounds like more to come for the strategic plan. So I can put that on the radar. I'm glad we're having this conversation, because I can put this on the radar of Alex, who is our guy. And when you have your interviews, I think each of you are gonna have interviews with him. Definitely feel free to bring that up as well.
Yeah, Megan, would it be helpful if you could do like a little, for the council, like a survey of the needs, the outreach needs, where you can get also more input, so there's really a clarity in terms of what each one of us is talking about, because I'm sure each one of us will have something different in terms of the needs. I can say, I can't do a flyer like, Councilmember Gonzalez Sanchez, but I can put together an agenda, and I can put together the emails, and I can do, there's a lot of things that I can do. I think it's important to have really concrete of what each one of us is talking about in terms of outreach and support, because it may look different.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great idea.
Okay. Okay, good. Okay, good enough. Any final thoughts?
And to the chair, I know like with me, I already had this discussion with Megan. Mine is gonna be very low level, something different rather than, townhouse, listening sessions, is me going outdoors, meeting the community outdoors and just talking, and, sharing thoughts, concerns, or even like a walk and talk. Those are, just kind of, enjoying a day with our community and just, letting them, share. Those are like very low levels, and, we have discussed that.
No, and I think that's a great idea. And one thing that we can think about too is, how do we allow for district communication, maybe in events that are going on, like, we public or Parks and Recs is doing like open field type of activities to invite the community. So maybe that's a great opportunity to, introduce the district and resource, like glob upon something like that. So we can also be strategic like that as well. Cause I think if there's something that people can come to in their neighborhood, they're more likely to say, oh, that's, versus, maybe going at night to a night meeting.
No, it's great, because she's done it during our 4th of July event, so she's had like meet the mayor, and that's great, and that's a great turnout. Because they always come see the mayor, so
I
it's
have a lot
good.
of goodies for them, that's why.
Yeah, goodies too. So it's good.
Yeah, but I think that's a good point, because I think as you guys are working on stuff, especially recreation, I think it's important to keep the council in mind, especially those that have districts. Is it in, Councilwoman Banuelos's district, right? Because she already has a district. Is it in Councilmember Caldera's district? Because he already has a district. So if any of those events are taking place in that area, that there's a, you know, hey, we're doing this in your district, is an opportunity for you to enhance our outreach efforts and to be part of it.
Absolutely.
All right, okay, council, then more discussion to come on that. So thank you guys for that. So we'll move on then to our next item on our agenda. And now it's mayor's report. Okay, so can you get the timer? There, so. Okay, so on the 6th, I joined Supervisor Lopez, again, members of RCRC and South County mayors on Zoom calls with President Ron Reynolds of the CPUC, and I think I had talked about this already, but requesting approval of the Salinas Valley CPUC Golden State Connect Authority application for federal funding submitted through the South Salinas Valley Broadband Authority. So we did a lot of meetings to be able to support our application to move forward. So I just want to thank Supervisor Lopez for the continued efforts on that. And then on the 7th of February, I attended the City Selection Committee that's comprised of all the 12 mayors to discuss a LAFCO board appointment. And I've been sitting on the board, I think I shared with some of you, for the last 4 years as an alternate on the board. Some of our policies do state that if you have been an alternate, that you could sit as a primary member. Well, unfortunately, I was not seated as the voting member. That went to Mayor Dennis Donahue. So the South County mayors, along with 3 Peninsula mayors, voted him in. So I was a little disappointed only because I did some further research and understood that for the past 24 years, Soledad has only been a voting member once in 2000. And South County mayors only have been a voting member 4 times in 24 years. And Salinas has been a voting member 20 of the 24 years. So although I know it's important, I just want to say that because I think it's important for this council and for our residents as well, that we need to continue to, I'm still an alternate, so I will continue to be on the board as an alternate. But I think it's important that we have more representation of South County, and the Salinas Valley. I know we're working together, but I think South County hasn't, those were staggering numbers for me. So anyways, I fought hard, guys, but didn't get it. And then on the February the 7th, I attended the county's immigration ad hoc committee meeting. And as you know, they had the Know Your Rights Committee forums in Salinas, which was really successful. And then tonight they're having the same style of forum in Greenfield. So I know we're here, we couldn't be there, but they are having attorneys, they are helping families to prepare for their plan documents. And then on the 10th, I attended the MST Board of Directors. Just as a recognition, I was there for the past 8 years. So thank you to Mayor Pro Tem Cabrera for taking on now that representation for us moving forward. And then on the 11th, I did meet with Megan, Jessica Potts, and Francis Bankston to talk about the appointments that we did tonight, the process, but also discuss the girls softball opportunity to consider entering into a contract similar like the Little League if they choose to do so, based on some of the comments that happened last meeting, and then future opportunities to partner. And then I attended the SoCo Social to say hello to our seniors. We're having a great time at the Valentine's party. So if you guys ever get to go, it's amazing. And then just final, if I can just finish, we did meet as part of our policy committee with Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez, with Megan, and with Mike Rodriguez to review our policy. So we do have an established timeline, council, that we do want to bring back the policies and recommendations to you by August. I believe that's what we said. So we are working hard on that to make sure that we have a policy revised document, right? So I know it's been a long time coming, so we want to make sure we complete that. And then the 2 events I attended was Vanessa Aguilar. I think I shared with you guys. She was a player from Soledad, soccer player, went to the UC-17 Mexican national team, and now she's attending the University of Washington on a full scholarship to play soccer. So we're pretty excited about her. And then on the 1st, the PANESC, they're the parent support group from Soledad that help families with special needs. They had their first Valentine's Day party on Valentine's Day. So they invited me to go, and I attended for a little bit. So yeah, thank you. And then just highlights, not that, but on Friday, there will be a legal observation training for the rapid responders here in Soledad. So Monterey County Central Labor Council and the Solidarity Network of Monterey, we're working together to be able to make sure that that happens here. They need rapid responders for South County. Mayor Pro Tem will be present to be able to do a welcome on behalf of the city. I won't be here. And then on the February 22nd, we did partner also with the General Council of Mexico from San Jose and to have a Consul Móvil. And we also partnered with the school district who allowed us for them to use a Main Street Middle School. I know we were trying to have our facilities, but we couldn't accommodate. So just want to say thank you and shout out to the school district for doing that. They've been getting crazy amount of calls because it's a real need in our community. But I know we're trying to take care of that to make sure that they're not impacted, but just wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that as well as the council, so as well as our community. So thank you. Okay, so with that, I'll turn it over then to Councilmember Caldera.
On this side, okay.
Over this side.
On the 11th, we met with, actually, we had a Zoom meeting with Mayor Pro Tem and myself and Jesus on the immigration ad hoc committee. We did make a list of all the churches and the nonprofit groups that are at stake here. And, you know, it went really well. I think we have one planned. Well, we have a few dates in March, so we can have a meeting or a forum on the immigration you know, including involving the churches and the groups. Okay. So that's the only thing I engaged between the last meeting and this meeting.
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. Councilmember Anselmo Sanchez?
Yes, on February 6th, Mayor Pro Tem and I met as the Legislative Ad Hoc Committee to discuss our recommendation for our legislative platform that I believe will be coming to the council next month. March 5th. So that's exciting. There are a lot of items that we added, and there was also conversations about some of the bills that the city may want to either back or be against, and we did provide recommendations that I feel like we all kind of would be in the similar consensus. I think that Spencer said he would draft letters for. On February 12th, I attended the AMBAG meeting, and we're looking into the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan / Sustainable Communities Strategy. It was a short meeting, but it was good, and that's the Association of Monterey Bay
Area
Government. Great, thanks. And then also, we had somebody from Carmel High School who made a public comment about wow, it really took me a long time. Sorry. That made a public comment about how she's part of their new student senate, and they are really interested in like climate stuff. So she talked about that, and I thought it was really cool that they have a student senate. And I know that we are meeting with the school district next month, so it might be something that I'll share with them as well. But I think it'd be really cool to see here in our community. I know that we have a youth council, but I think it'd be cool for them to have their own sort of senate to talk about the things that they need. And I feel like if I had a student senate back when I was in high school, you know, I think that would have been very helpful. On February 15th, I was at our Salinas Valley Pride Celebrations board that I'm a part of. We had our retreat, and then as part of the retreat, I was elected as vice president for the board for the year 2025. So I'm really excited about that. And I'm also a co-chair for the Pride Committee, so I will be tasked with throwing Pride this year for Salinas Valley Pride Celebrations, which, I mean, we all will be tasked, but we'll co-chair that, so I'm really looking forward to that, especially during the times that we are in right now in our current administration. And then as part of Salinas Valley Pride Celebrations, I would like to invite the community in together collaboration with the California State Parks to our volunteer day this Saturday at Fort Ord Dune State Park at 9 a.m. We will be doing a cleanup. So if anybody's interested, you are welcome to come. And before I turn it over, I do want to, sorry, I wrote it in the first page. I do want to commemorate today. Today is actually Day of Remembrance. So 83 years ago, an executive order 9066 was authorized, which authorized the forced relocation of Japanese Americans to internment camps during World War II. Later, a formal government apology was extended to the Japanese American community by the United States. Today, we remember and honor those lives affected. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that commemoration as well. Mayor Pro Tem Cabrera?
Yes, so in the 6th, we met with our legislative committee and council member had already presented all the facts. But I really enjoyed that committee because it gives us a perspective directly from Sacramento, and that is an interesting thing. Then with the council member Caldera, we met on the 11th for the immigration committee, and I think that there is a lot of things that we can do. We met with Jesus and put together a list of things that we would like to do, along with a timeline that we need a timeline so we can organize ourselves and be more specific about the things that we want to do directly with the community. And then on the 10th, I attended the MST meeting, which was mostly reports on certificates of recognition for employers and board members, including our mayor. And I want to congratulate her, say that. The experience that I had in the time that I've been as a council member has been that our mayor is the kind of person that always advocates for our city and our residents. And I have never seen or be in a meeting with her in which she doesn't advocate for the residents of the city. And I want to thank you for your leadership and you got the recognition. And I'm sad, I'm upset really. I don't want to say the word that I have because you were not elected for the board. And I think that sometimes people don't actually realize that as a communities in the South County, we're not represented as much as we should. We can barely show up for a little bit, and then I don't want to say they take it away from us, but they don't give us the opportunity to be present right there. And I think that in this council is doing that, is trying to learn more in how to represent our cities, how to represent our residents, and we do it. We attend, we go to those meetings so that we can be represented. And I want to thank all of you guys for being so invested in this, because it's not just about what we can take away from this, is how much we can bring to the table, how much we can bring to our citizens and our residents. And I want to thank you for all the work that you guys do. Thanks.
Thank you.
And congratulations to Vice Presidency.
Thank you. And I was like, we're talking.
Leadership positions, thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna keep it short. On February 7th, I attended Zoom meeting hosted by the Monterey County Office of Education on Know Your Rights. There was so many of us on Zoom and just continuing to educate, also as Mayor Anna shared, there was a meeting today in Greenfield, and there's one going to be set for March 6th on Pájaro. Also, I actually met up with Henry to do our video for the State of the City event for the 27th, actually next week, right? Yeah, next week. So also, I do want to apologize. I missed the pizza with the police on the tenth, and I heard it was a really good turnout, so sorry, I didn't attend. March 13th, I did attend, the Soledad Cemetery Board. There's gonna be, of course, some changes, you know, as Desiree had mentioned earlier, there are gonna be, you know, just a continued outreach with our community and making those changes. And of course, on the 18th, I had a meetup phone conversation with Megan with the briefing of agenda, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. A lot of great work. Okay, Council, I just want to make a comment, Megan, on the timeline on the immigration. There is the UFW is also, I think it's a UFW foundation. They're working with Hartnell College. They have 2 plan Know Your Rights already. So that way you guys can have that information that you guys have. Okay, good. I know they reached out to me, so I'll make sure that I respond and I loop both of you guys in as well. So, okay, good. So thank you for that. There's a lot of stuff going on. Okay. Council, then city manager's report. Megan.
So firstly, I want to, and if you want to give me a 3-minute timer, that's good too. I'll try to stick to the 3 minutes. Just wanted to apologize for not sending you my written report last week. It's been quite a hectic 2 weeks, but I will do a combined report that will go out on Friday, but I did want to give you a couple of highlights. So I did want to let you know that our PD and code enforcement is working with environmental health. Environmental health has been good and now is responsive. On Sunday, there was rounds of meat with one of the vendors off of the ramp. And we're going to continue to do basically confiscation of food or of equipment because that seems to be the only way that we're getting folks responding. So glad that we have that support. One of the impediments with having the environmental health there was that the sheriff's office couldn't provide the backup because of being short-staffed. So our PD and code enforcement stepped in. So kudos to them to doing that. So I also wanted to let you know about the state of the city address. Please encourage your folks to attend. I think we will have resource tables, so it's a great opportunity for people to learn about the departments and get more information. A reminder that we have the strategic plan going on in March 1st, and I know that you all have scheduled your interviews, so very excited about that. The executive team is going to meet with the University of Kansas on the 28th. So very excited to hear, have the feedback from those meetings. I get to host the Monterey Bay Managers Group City Managers meeting this Friday. We're going to do it at the community center because I love that facility and I really want to brag about that facility. And real quick, we are going to be bringing back asking for some direction on the shipping container village. And it looks like we have funding for a mural to put on the apparatus bay facing the park, more to come on that. And we did identify and we're excited. We're coordinating with Gonzalez on a parcel tax consultant, and because we're working together, we got a good discount deal. So that's going to be happening. And then lastly, I think I need to connect with you as the AMBAG representative to fix our opportunity area, which is very odd and doesn't include the downtown, but we'll kind of coordinate and tag team on that.
The opportunity zones?
No, it's something different through AMBAG, but it's basically to look at housing funding and other funding and how to focus it more effectively. And most cities have their downtowns included, but ours is not. So we'll work with Council Member Ansaldo Sanchez on that. So I'm 25 seconds over and I'll shut up now. So, yeah.
Thank you, Megan. And thank you. And thank you for the update on the on the enforcement, and thank you to our PD and our code enforcement. I know they've been doing a lot of that, so I want to thank them. Okay, so future agenda items, and this is just future agenda items. I know we have some already, but, okay, let me start with Councilwoman Mayor Pro Tem Cabrera.
No, I don't.
Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez.
I do have one, or second one, I always do. I would actually really like to bring something forward that would allow us to speak on the divisive rhetoric that is going on in our country, specifically targeting our immigrant community and our LGBTQ plus community, specifically, let me be even more specific, affecting our trans community, who has now been excluded from a lot of federal policies and laws and being taken out of the equation. And I really think that we as a city should be forthright in having some sort of proclamation. I don't know what it's called, Mike, sorry, but just kind of reinforcing that we are standing behind our communities at this time. And that's it.
Okay, thank you for that. And I'll make a comment, but I'll wait until the end. Councilmember Caldera? Yeah. So on that note, I do want to, I know we had talked about, you guys are working on the immigration ad hoc, but I wanted to see if we can bring back, I know we have the reso, we discussed, I mean, the proclamation, right? We discussed it back in December, but I think the formation of the ad hoc was also to look at the language of our existing proclamation, to be able to look at, do we need to amplify who it covers? And I think to Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez's point is we do need to amplify, because the target back then was our immigrant communities. They continue to be the target, but they're not the only targets anymore, right? We have other communities and other populations that are also being targeted. So can we revise that resolution, Mike? Would we be able to do that, to include some language in terms of what Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez was talking about?
I don't think so, because
Do we need to make a new one?
yeah, I mean, we're looking at two different things, because the language that we had was really instructions to us internally that we weren't gonna use resources, law enforcement resources to enforce federal immigration law. So that may be a little bit different than, I think, in terms of.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna revisit the existing immigration resolution that we have to see
Yeah.
if we wanna strengthen it or do something like that,
Yeah.
we can certainly do that. But yeah, I would recommend that we have a separate or standalone one, that's sort of more universal in terms of the issues and the folks in the coverage that we wanna have, so.
And I do think
Okay.
that we probably need to have some, I would recommend that we do, because we didn't really talk about that issue with the immigration subcommittee, but there's a lot of things we have to contemplate and consider, and I think there's some legal change, like with the sanctuary city status, there's actually some different approaches that may be more harmful to the city, so I think it would be good for Mike and I, which we were not at the immigration subcommittee, to really look at what tools we might have to discuss that. But I do understand what Councilmember Ansaldo Sanchez is saying, is like, is there a restating that we respect and honor populations that are being.
There are, I
targeted.
actually did just a little bit of quick research and found some interesting materials on some other city websites. They actually have a website dedicated to that particular issue and so forth, so. And I will share that stuff with you folks so that we can see if that's the direction that we want to head, but yeah, there's a couple, some of the cities sort of surprised me, because I was sort of saying like, well, what is this whole declaration coming out of this particular city? And then, you know, as you read along, you sort of see like, oh, okay, I see now what we're really getting at. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's quite a bit of good information and so forth.
Yeah,
A lot of colleges, a lot of learning institutions have adopted, statements, sort of, for lack of a better way, sort of anti-hate statements.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we can take a look at those as a template.
I think that's maybe what you're talking
Yeah,
about, like
definitely.
kind of
Okay.
more the anti-hate, but I would suggest that the other sanctuary city
Yes.
thing be looked at the committee, but maybe Mike can bring something back
Yeah.
about the hate.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we have that. So we have two things. Well, the adopted statements, look at that for the anti-hate. And then also the sanctuary city kind of immigration, bring it back. Because I think there's still more that we can do. And I have a lot of different ideas as well of what we need to include. I want to make sure that I'm respecting the subcommittee, but I do want to make sure that I share once you guys bring it back. But hopefully we bring it back. That's
And,
my-
and if you wanted to share with me, even though I have to be careful not to have a serial meeting, maybe during the subcommittee, we can, discuss.
I've pulled some, there have been some recent restatements and so forth, and so
Yeah.
I've pulled those and made copies of them, so we can. look at
Mhm,
those.
yeah, and I'm surprised like you, there's a bunch of statements that they're on cities, right? Like declarations on city pages and stuff, so.
Right, yeah, right on the website.
Right on the website, so, okay, council, so with that, then, if there's no future agenda items, I. Thank you. Wow. We heard that.